Happy Tuesday, folks. Happy September, and welcome back to #AskGSM here today for Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well, having an awesome week. Enjoyed your Labor Day yesterday. And if you're outside of the United States, hope you had a great Monday nonetheless. Hope you guys are doing well, and also enjoyed Clash in Paris on Sunday, which we will be getting into here on today's show. Thank you for joining either live or watching after the fact. I always appreciate it. Let's go through some quick housekeeping things before we address the chat, those who are joining live, and get into the questions for today's edition. Talking all about, is AJ Lee finally about to return to WWE in time for Wrestlepalooza 2025 coming up in a few weeks, among other questions sent in ahead of time that I will get to soon enough. But again, want to thank our channel members here on the channel for supporting the WrestleRant brand, that being Alexis Miss Mon Matthews, Dillon DiGiacomo, Mrs. Renee, DJ Swerve1 at Swerve1, WON on IG, Daniel Malcolm at I'm Quarter on X, follow him on over there, Mr. Marceau himself, follow him on Twitter at RJ_Marceau, talking all things UFC, WWE, NASCAR, and so much more. For the fresh fade, by the way, if you want to find out on see more of Mr. Marceau's fresh fade, follow him on over on Twitter at RJ_Marceau. John Ritland right here on YouTube. Subscribe to his channel, does great content. Real Honesty with John Ritland, follow him on over there, as well as Richie right here on YouTube as well. Just saw Richie and his lovely wife yesterday, actually. We had a great time on Labor Day. Many months in the making, many years in the making, actually. We had a blast. Thank you to Richie for a great day. You can find him right here on YouTube streaming, as well as I think on Twitch as well. Red Planet Wrestling. And last but not least, follow Average Grunt. He has now opened a Blue Sky account talking, I think, exclusively pro wrestling. So he sent me this link last week. You can follow him on over there at Grunt Wrestling rather, .bluesky.social on Blue Sky. So it's once again at gruntwrestling.bsky, Blue Sky, .social. So you can follow him on over there for all of his pro wrestling muzzings, if that's the correct pronunciation of the word. For more information on how to become a WrestleRant All Access Pass channel member, $5 a month gets you shout-outs at the beginning and end of every single live stream that we do here on the channel, specifically on Tuesdays and Thursdays for WrestleRant Radio and #AskGSM, specifically, like I said. You also get top billing on shows like such as #AskGSM, WrestleRant Radio. If you got a question and you're a channel member, you'll get it answered first if you send in the question ahead of time for me to answer here on the show. You also get badges and emojis in the live chats, early and ad-free access to certain videos, and so much more. Speaking of early and ad-free access to certain videos, that usually includes WrestleRant Ranks, where yesterday here on the show, I didn't do the early and ad-free access to that one. I had to head out to see Richie, actually, so I didn't do it for yesterday's edition. But the latest installment, if you missed it, of WrestleRant Ranks, which I implore you to go back and check out, rather, ranks every CM Punk match in AEW in the light of the 2-year anniversary of CM Punk leaving the company, in light of the 4-year anniversary of when he wrestled his first match back in pro wrestling in over 7 years. I thought it was only appropriate to rank every CM Punk AEW match from a tier list that I found on tierlistmaker.com. So go back and check that out from yesterday. And I would also suggest that you go back and check out my interview, or not interview rather, but my review from Sunday of Jim Ross's latest book. I believe it's something along the lines of his 50 most unforgettable classic calls on commentary throughout his entire career. I did the audiobook version of that and really, really enjoyed it. And did a review of it that he actually shared on his Twitter on Sunday, which was really cool, which I appreciated. So go back and check that out as well. My next book review should not be too long before my next book review. I did the Becky Lynch book, which is kind of popping back up again for her comments that she made about AJ Lee in the book when she wrote that last year. But I did a book review of her book last month, or in July rather, and I did the Jim Ross book review on Sunday. Coming up this Sunday here on the channel, most likely, I should be doing a review for the book that I have been reading that I've been telling you guys about. Cannot recommend it enough. It's called Say Hello to the Bad Guys by my friend Mark Romani of ESPN. Gave me a copy of it, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's all about the NWO. So if you grew up an NWA fan, or NWO fan, rather, NWA as well, I guess, but if you grew up a fan of the NWO, or just want to know more about the group and how they kind of broke through that zeitgeist of pop culture, in the late 90s and kind of the impact they had on the pro wrestling business and just in pop culture in general. Great book to really kind of catch you up to speed and teach you a lot of things that you may not have already been aware of. A lot of great research went into it. I'm going to be doing a full review of that book coming up this weekend here on the channel. If you want to send in questions for this show, you could do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at any point, but specifically on Mondays when I gather the questions at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Drop a comment on the post I usually put up on Monday nights, if not in the wall itself. Raw airing earlier yesterday, and the fact that I was out all day and the fact it was a holiday kind of fucked me up, so I didn't really put the post up to gather the questions until later on than I usually do. But the post did go up, and we got a couple good questions that I will be answering a little bit later on. So you can find me on Facebook and Twitter there to send in questions, as well as right here on YouTube. Drop a comment on the video after it's done processing and after we're done live, of course. I'll include your question in next week's edition to be answered right here on the show. If you simply just want to support the channel, you can just do so by liking this video, commenting, sending in a question here during the show. If you got a question during the show, I'll answer it here in a moment. You can also subscribe and hit that notification bell to be notified every single time we go live here on the channel, and every single time we upload new content, you'll be notified. So check that out as well. I would greatly appreciate the support. So before we get going here with the questions and whatnot for today's edition, let's pull up the chat and see who's here. I see Jose Martinez. I see Alexis, Fernando, Maria. Appreciate all you guys. Nathaniel as well. Average Grunt joining us once more as well. Great to see all you folks in the chat. Fernando said before we went live, he said, Buenos dias, WrestleRant. Buenos dias to you as well, Fernando. Thank you for joining as always. He said, what grade do you give the Clash in Paris event? I would probably go B-. I didn't think it was a bad show. Didn't think it was a great show. I thought it was a good, nice, solid international event that really was made better by the hot crowd in Paris. They're just a fucking fantastic crowd. And I think the conclusion that Alexis and I came to on Sunday, or rather yesterday while we were watching Raw, and I would probably agree with this. I was kind of hard-pressed to come up with a better answer. Paris might be the hottest pro wrestling crowd today as far as WWE international events. And England's great. You know, Chicago is notoriously pretty good. Not quite as hot as they used to be, I would say, at least on the regular. But yeah, I would probably say Paris is their best crowd. So anyway, I think that made for an amazing atmosphere at Clash of Paris on Sunday. That made for a very fun atmosphere in the building for that show. And we got some really good matches. A 6-match card, which was probably unnecessary. A little bit long of a show. It was almost 4 fucking hours. I don't know if it needed to be a 4-hour show. But I still think it was a good show overall. Proper booking decisions for the most part. Like the main event. The 2 best matches, I would say, Roman and Bronson was good too. I thought Rusev and Sheamus had a really fun brawl, but I think the best match of the show, believe it or not, was John Cena versus Logan Paul. They went out there and killed it. And John Cena having his second straight excellent PLE matchup. And he's had a lot of pay-per-view matches this year against CM Punk, Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes. I think the second Cody Rhodes match and the Logan Paul matches in the month of August alone were his 2 best PLE matches all year. And the Punk and Orton one matches I thought were fun, specifically the Orton match in St. Louis. The Punk match was very good, as you would expect from them, but not quite on the level of what we would want from them due to the heel shenanigans and the interference and the bullshit. That was dumb. But him and Logan Paul really went all out during that match, and they got a lot of time, probably more time than they needed, to be honest with you, but still a fun match nonetheless. So overall, I would give the show a B-. I didn't think it was super significant. It was one of those shows where if you did not watch it live, outside of the ending with Becky Lynch joining the Vision, didn't really feel like you missed a hell of a whole lot. We didn't get any title changes. We had one truly above-average match, a great crowd, but one of those shows where it was airing in an afternoon. If you caught it, you didn't waste your time, but you could probably save yourself some time by watching it after the fact and cutting through the commercials and the bullshit and the recaps and whatnot. Yeah, you didn't really miss much. So I'd probably go B-, although I know I tend to be a bit more optimistic on this sort of things because I enjoy the shows. I love watching the pay-per-views for both companies, all companies that I cover for the most part, and I thought it was a good show. Could have been better. I thought SummerSlam was probably better overall, but I do think Clash in Paris was still an enjoyable event for what it was worth. Nathaniel asked, or Maria actually, before Nathaniel said, "Good morning, Graham and chat." Good morning to you as well, Maria. Thank you for joining, as always. Great to see you in the chat. Nathaniel said, "Hi, how's it going? I was shocked Becky cost Punk at Paris." There was a lot of speculation earlier in the day, for whatever reason, that we were going to get another member of the Vision. And I say fourth member, but like Paul Heyman's kind of like the fourth member, so I guess it would be the fifth member. Regardless, I was thinking, like I saw people saying, and I laughed, I saw people saying Austin Theory. I saw a lot of suggestions for Tony D'Angelo. Why the fuck would Tony D'Angelo join the Vision? Why the fuck would the Vision want Tony D'Angelo? I like Tony D'Angelo. I enjoy Tony D'Angelo. He's probably on his way out of NXT, thank God. But why would he be considered a good fit for the Vision? Didn't really understand that when I saw people throwing that name around. It probably would have gone over like a fart in church had he shown up and cost Punk the match on Sunday. Becky Lynch made way more sense, and they really should have done that from the get-go of having her join the group. But better late than never, especially if they are setting up a mixed tag team match for WrestlePalooza in a couple of weeks. But yeah, I was surprised by that too. I did think that we might get a new member revealed because the whole Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker banned from the building, Paul Heyman in the hospital, that all explained why they did not come out at the end of the show, which I liked. And we got a new member, but it wasn't the member I was expecting, but it was the member that we needed. And the member that I wanted when they initially introduced the group back in April. I just did not think we were ever going to get Seth and Becky back on TV as an on-air couple because, one, they did not do it sooner than now, and two, Becky Lynch, after reading her book recently, made it kind of clear in her book that she did not enjoy teaming with Seth Rollins on TV. It had nothing to do with him specifically. They're obviously married in real life, and they have great chemistry and whatnot, but the booking sucked, and granted, that was a different era. They were both baby faces. Rollins wasn't really fully fleshed out as a character at that point. They both came off a lot less cool than they were before. And the people they were feuding with, no disrespect to Baron Corbin, Lacey Evans, I don't give a fuck about at this point, they weren't exactly the most exciting pair, that being Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans. That was legitimately a pay-per-view main event in 2019. Seth and Becky versus Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans has main evented a WWE pay-per-view event, which is honestly incredible. But anyway, yeah, so I think this time it will work out a lot better. Rollins still kind of has to define what his current heel character is, like get rid of the music, I would say. I've been longing for that for quite some time now. Becky Lynch, I think, has been doing some of the greatest work, honestly, in my opinion, of her entire career. Since coming back after Mania, winning the Women's Intercontinental Championship, some great matches with Lyra Valkyria and Bayley. I like the Nikki match. A lot of people shit on it, and understandably so, because there was that one bad botch towards the end in the middle where Nikki did that thing off the rope. That might have been a Becky Lynch, honestly, botch where she wasn't in the right spot as opposed to a Nikki botch. But regardless, I like the match for what it was. But yeah, I mean, I'm very glad Becky Lynch is part of the group now, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they're setting up for WrestlePalooza. Jose Martinez, thank you for joining. He was asking how I feel about the WWE ESPN payment for PLEs. Payments or partnership, I'm not exactly sure what you mean exactly. I'm not a big fan of the whole WWE ESPN partnership just because it further spreads out WWE on even more streaming services. So like currently, if you want to watch WWE programming, I'm not even talking about the cost because some people will get ESPN for free. I think that includes me as an Xfinity customer. I'm not sure. I think YouTube TV is getting it at some point. Hopefully soon. This whole process was really was expedited or expedited rather. In the last couple of weeks with WWE leaving Peacock, the WWE main roster shows anyway, a lot sooner than expected. But you get the main roster PLEs starting with WrestlePalooza on ESPN. The NXT PLEs and the content library for now are still on Peacock. The WWE content library, I think, is only on there through the end of the year from according to one source that I saw. And then the NXT PLEs are on there through March. So I know they're saying, oh yeah, the NXT shows are still on there. Yeah, only until March for the next 6 months. And I think the content library might only be on there until fucking December, at which point it might be nowhere. And that brings me to Raw. To watch Raw here in the States anyway. It's not, I mean, I think everywhere. It's on Netflix, which is great, but it further spreads out the programming. Because Raw, or Netflix rather, has the Raw rights, has the rights to Raw, They also have the rights, I think, to the content library, but they've only put up select episodes on Netflix. They never bothered adding any more episodes. After Raw joined Netflix in January, I don't think they've added another new episode since then, aside from the episodes they've already been airing every Monday, which is fucking garbage for anyone that wants to go back and watch the old episodes. I understand that's not a majority of people, but for those of us that do enjoy the classic content, and that's also what we pay for, it's very inconvenient and very frustrating. So they don't have any old Raw episodes up there outside of a select few, but you can watch the new Raws on Netflix. NXT's on the CW, but again, it's the same thing where the entire NXT library is gone from Peacock. Now, they are slowly but surely adding new stuff to the NXT YouTube channel. That includes all the old episodes and the old takeovers, which is great. But still, it's further spread out. SmackDown's on USA Network on cable. It's just super fucking inconvenient, man. It's super inconvenient and very frustrating. So for that reason alone, I'm not a fan of it. Grunt, what's going on, brother? Jose also said, in my opinion, they have to end the Punk versus Rollins rivalry. Hopefully they do a Hell in a Cell match at Crown Jewel. If not, then it's Survivor Series. Just end the rivalry. Listen, I agree. I've enjoyed the feud. I'm not one of those people saying it's got to end. It's got to end. Like, it does have to end. I've been enjoying it, and a lot of the stuff they've been doing with them has felt logical. It's not like they're having a match on every single fucking pay-per-view. Like, it's either been multi-man matches, triple threats, four-ways, not tag team matches, but, you know, whatever it might be. It's various things that they've been involved in. Rollins cashing in on Punk. And they haven't had a singles match on pay-per-view yet, actually. Their first one was on Netflix. The second one was also on Raw on Netflix. The first one being the Netflix premiere. The second one being an MSG, also on Raw on Netflix. And their third one, technically, was on pay-per-view when Rollins cashed in on Punk, but it really wasn't much of a match. So they have to have a blow-off at some point. I would have it be at Survivor Series or Crown Jewel. I would agree. I think Hell in a Cell would be perfect. Now, I know Punk just had a Hell in a Cell match with Drew McIntyre a year ago. And Rollins has had a handful of Hell in a Cell matches between the ones with Dean Ambrose, The Fiend. I wish we would all forget that. And obviously the Edge one from 2021, which was an excellent match. Even the Cody Rhodes one. He had a Hell in a Cell match with Cody Rhodes that was one of the best WWE matches of the last 10 years, if not ever. Definitely an excellent cage match. That would be his fifth Hell in a Cell. And Punk's... How many cell matches has Punk had now? Not counting the one on Raw that was a dark match back in 2011. He had the triple threat in 2011 with Cena and Del Rio at Hell in a Cell 2011 for the WWE title. He lost that one. He had the two with Ryback. The one with Ryback that was one-on-one, and the second with Ryback that was a handicap match, and also involving Paul Heyman, both of which he won. And then he was also in the one with The Undertaker in 2009. And then the fifth one with Drew McIntyre at Bad Blood in 2024. So I think he's had 5 cage matches, and Rollins has had 4. Or cell matches specifically. So yeah, I think Hell in a Cell, because I was thinking too, like, when this gets blown off, what's the stipulation that we should see them in? I think Hell in a Cell would make the most sense. Like an Iron Man match that we have not seen a formal Iron Man match in WWE in a very long time. It's been years. I don't know... Like, why would it be an Iron Man match for this big feud? You know, for the big blow-off, it has to be something like an ambulance match or an I Quit match, but I feel like a Hell in a Cell in this circumstance would make the most sense. Alexis said, hey, and she also said, can't wait to see RJ on Thursday and mention his fresh fade. Yeah, hopefully RJ shows up again on Thursday with the fresh fade. He was super over on last Thursday's show. If you missed it, go back and check it out. It was fucking funny. Nathaniel said, how do you feel about Lyra finally wrestling next week on Raw? It's about fucking time. It feels like the Bayley vignettes have been cool. Those have my attention. But to put Lyra on ice in the meantime, I don't like that, because she was really getting over with the audience when she was on Raw every week as part of the Becky feud. It feels like when you're not involved with Becky, you're not really a priority to them at the moment. Now, she is on the show in backstage segments, but that's very different than wrestling or appearing in front of the crowd that, you know, will give you reactions and feed off of what you're doing and get more visibility. If you're in a backstage segment and that person's going to the fucking bathroom, they may not even know you were on the show because their segments are so short backstage. And you don't really get a whole lot from backstage segments anyway. So I have not been a fan of the fact that she has barely been on Raw since SummerSlam, and that's got to change. It sounds like she is wrestling next week on the show, probably against Roxanne or Raquel. Better than nothing. But yeah, hopefully they can kind of pick back up where they left off with her. And maybe that's where Bayley reappears. Depends on what she's got going on with her and Punk and whatever else is going on next Monday. But we'll see. He also said, I would like to see AJ return on Friday. Hey, we'll see. Fernando said, what was your favorite match and worst match on Sunday at Clash in Paris? Favorite match, Cena and Logan Paul. Worst match, probably Becky and Nikki. But honestly, I thought that was a good match. I was in the minority of people who actually thought the match was fine. I thought it was a good, well-worked match for the most part. Aside from a few odd moments, wasn't the cleanest encounter. But I liked the match overall. Thought the finish felt a bit abrupt. And I was fine with it if we were going to get more matches between them, but it looks like we won't. It looks like they're moving on from Nikki and Becky, so I guess not. But I thought the match was fine, but it was probably the weakest. I thought the four-way was fun. I thought the good old-fashioned Donnybrook match was very good, as you would expect. I thought Roman and Bronson was good to very good. Really benefited from that crowd. Had a much more methodical pace, but a good match overall. Actually, I take that back. I feel like the weakest match might have been Wyatt Six and the Profits. People will tell you Becky and Nikki. I thought that match was better than Wyatt Six and Street Profits, which I thought was fine. It was a perfectly average outing that could have happened on any ordinary SmackDown, in my opinion. So yeah, I'd probably go with the WWE Tag Team title match, which in and of itself was not a bad match, but in my opinion, the weakest of the night. Grunt says, I think they'll make CNC versus FTR a TLC quote-unquote match to try and counter the Hardys Team 3D match, ? He says. I'm not expecting it, but a stipulation like that could fit the feud in my opinion. They could. I mean, I know you're saying to counter the Hardys Team 3D match. That's to counter TNA. WWE's not benefiting from doing the Hardys versus Team 3D because it's not in their company. That's a TNA match. And it's also not that weekend. Now, if you said they were doing that to counter Hardys and Team 3D at Wrestlepalooza in a TLC match or whatever, then sure. But I don't really think AEW is competing with TNA at all at the moment. It's more so NXT and WWE itself. TNA is not really much of a threat to them at all. And they're not running shows opposite of each other anyway. It's typically the NXT PLEs and now the main roster PLEs that they're running opposite of the AEW ones. So no, I don't really think they should make Cope and Christian versus FTR a TLC match because it's their first match. Could it be their one and only match, and you might as well go all out and make it, no pun intended, and make it a TLC match? Yeah, it's possible. I really have no interest in that at all at this current point. You can build to that. Maybe FTR win. Maybe they win, get massive heat, and then you can build to a TLC match down the road. Or you have Cope and Christian win, or FTR win, whoever, and then one of those teams in the meantime wins the tag titles at some point, and then they rematch down the road, and then it's a TLC match. That would also be very possible. But no, I would not do a TLC match at All Out. The pay-per-view's in 2 fucking weeks, and that would just feel rushed. I know the feud's been building since the beginning of the year, but the match and the build itself, quite honestly, feels a bit rushed because Cope and Christian just got back on the same page. They already beat the patriarchy, and now they're already moving on to FTR, which did make sense. But like to do all of this in the span of 3 weeks would be too much in my opinion. Fernando says, who should win the women's world title, Stephanie Vaquer or Io Sky? I said this last week. I'm going Io Sky. If Stephanie wins, you will not get a single fucking complaint out of me. I think Stephanie's awesome. But I also feel like it's too soon. Could she win it and then become more of an afterthought where the focus is on feuds like with Rhea and Io and Asuka and other women like that? Yeah, that's a real possibility where Stephanie's more of a background player than she is a real focus of that division. And I feel like she could be a bigger focus if they spend more time to build her up and have her take that championship, ideally from Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. Io Sky was already champion earlier this year, and the reign itself was not great outside of that amazing match at WrestleMania. I get that. But I think Io Sky is more established, she's over, and it's only going to be a temporary thing. Because quite honestly, regardless of who wins this match, they are fucking losing that belt at some point, probably soon, to Rhea Ripley. Why would you want Stephanie winning the belt, becoming an afterthought, for maybe no more than a month or two, only to lose it to Rhea? When you can think long-term here, have Io win it, lose it to Rhea either in Australia or soon after, and then Rhea loses the belt at WrestleMania in a big moment, a big marquee match against Stephanie Vaquer. I feel like that would make a whole lot more sense. Christopher Houston, what's going on? Thanks for joining. Maria said, D'Angelo joining the Vision is really funny, LOL. Yeah, that would have been fucking random. Like, I know it's a big spot for an NXT call-up from the get-go, but, like, what would be the storyline reason? Did Rollins see the Vision with Tony D'Angelo? Did Tony D'Angelo grow up a fan of Seth Rollins? Like, it's just so fucking random. At least with Theory. I laugh at the Theory idea because he's a fucking joke. But I think that one would make more sense because Rollins in Theory had a history from 5 years ago when Rollins recruited him to be as part of his like a little cult thing. Was very short-lived, but they do have history from that point. They've also feuded and whatnot. There has been zero interaction between Rollins and Tony D'Angelo ever in WWE. And I like Tony, but he is not worthy of being a part of this top heel faction on Raw. I'm sorry. Nathaniel said, I don't know who else Becky faces if she's... who she faces for the Women's IC Championship. It can't be Lyra, maybe Bayley or Stephanie. Probably Stephanie. I mean, I would love to see Becky and Io Sky. If Io Sky wins the Women's World Championship, then that match isn't happening, I don't think. Because why would you do Becky and Io for both belts? That would just be unnecessary. But yeah, I think it would be Stephanie. If Stephanie loses to Io, which I would do, you can have Stephanie win the Women's Mid-Card Championship first, and then either drop that or do what she did in NXT and go to WrestleMania as the Women's Intercontinental Champion and become the Women's World Champion as well by beating Rhea Ripley. I think that'd be great. Becky, I don't really think will have an issue finding opponents for her championship. I know you said a few weeks ago, like, oh, she might be champion till Mania, and me and RJ were like, it seems a little long. But honestly, at the rate that she's going, between the Lyra Bayley stuff, you just did her and Nikki, which I thought was a very good feud in the time that it was given. And then whatever she's doing next with Punk, and you still have Stephanie and women like Io on the table, I think Becky will be just fine, now that I think about it. Maria said, people are hard on Lacey Evans. She had star potential, but WWE fumbled her. I disagree. I liked Lacey when she first came in. First of all, as a person, she seems very questionable. Some of the stuff that she has said online and outside of the ring and whatnot. But as far as like in the ring, they gave her a few opportunities, and the booking was never ideal. I will give them that. I will give her that and the fact that they did fumble her a few different times. She could have come back as a big babyface a few different points. When they turned her babyface in late 2019, which was very random, she actually got over very well in that role. But then after she unsuccessfully challenged for the championship, she did fucking nothing after that. And then she was spinning her wheels for a few years. And then they were going to bring her back as a babyface in 2022. And I thought the vignettes they did with her, talking about her, I think real life trauma. I don't know if they had her make it up for the vignettes. I don't remember. But like they aired a series of vignettes with her talking about her time in the military. And I thought that was great. I thought that was a great way to get people to rally behind her. And then the story was they were going to turn her heel anyway. And like, the fuck are we doing? And they did end up bringing her back as a heel soon after. And it was like, okay, whatever opportunities they had her with there, we're only going to go so far. And honestly, even if it did pan out and they didn't fuck up the booking and turn her heel right away immediately, I really don't think she would have gone all that far. Because she was just a lot more inferior. She was just far inferior in the ring compared to most of the women that did work for WWE at that point and still work for WWE now. There are far more women that are better than her on the mic as a character in the ring. You know, she had that pinup girl character that was different, that was unique, and she wasn't terrible in the ring. But beyond a certain point, whether it be as a babyface or as a heel, she just wasn't overly interesting. I only think she was ever going to go so far in WWE, even if she was booked perfectly. I think she was only ever going to go so far. So I disagree on her having star potential. Could she have done more than she did and maybe won a championship at some point? Yes. But would she have been one of the cornerstones of that division? Never. I honestly doubt that. Maria also said Nikki Bella was terrible on Sunday. She needs to stick to reality TV. Again, I disagree. I didn't think they had the greatest match. I thought it was a good match in my opinion. And I think Nikki's done well so far in WWE as far as the in-ring stuff is concerned. I think her promos have really improved a lot from what she was doing 10 years ago in WWE with like the mean girl shit. You know, she works well as a heel. I actually like her better as a babyface. The heel stuff is just super cringeworthy to me personally. Her babyface work is actually a lot better. Christopher said, do you think Seth and Becky team up against Punk and Lee? I'm thinking we're going in that direction. I'll talk more about that soon because that's obviously the headline for today's video. Let's see. Let's backtrack a little bit here. Nathaniel said, let me see. I think CM Punk beats Seth at WrestleMania. Do you? No, I think we get that before then. If you drag out this feud until WrestleMania, I mean, I don't know, man. I think Rollins and Roman makes more sense for WrestleMania. I also just don't want that match for the World Championship. I think whatever Punk's doing should be for the World Championship. Rollins and Roman is a great WrestleMania match to do one-on-one. That was the match we thought we were getting this past year. The issue with doing it at Mania next year, I don't want it for the title because I don't want Roman winning the fucking belt. It's still too soon for that. But I think we should blow off Punk and Rollins before then, ideally at Crown Jewel or Survivor Series. Survivor Series would make more sense. I don't know what you do at Crown Jewel, but Survivor Series would make the most sense because that was where their feud kind of got rekindled when Punk returned to the company 2 years ago at Survivor Series. Rollins was seen screaming and whining in the ring when Punk was standing on the stage. That would be the perfect place to blow off that feud once and for all. And not in a fucking War Games match or whatever. It would have to be, in my opinion, a singles match, probably Hell in the Cell. Could you wait until WrestleMania? Sure. But if it's just the inevitable outcome of Punk beating Rollins, by that point, the juice might be, like, they might have completely, and for a lot of people, they've already squeezed all the juice they can out of it. But by Mania, by that point, they would have been feuding on and off, essentially, for like 2.5 years. That's too fucking long. 2 years as it is too long. But I would still wrap it up before then, at least in my opinion. Let's see. Johnny said, oh, Jesus Christ. Is this the real stat? Undertaker has been in 14 Hell in a Cell matches. 14 Hell in a Cell matches? That's fucking crazy. Can I name all the Hell in a Cell matches that he's been in? I'm trying to think. He had he had one with Triple H. He had one with Kane. Triple H, Kane, Edge, Big Boss Man, Mankind. I think he had a tag team one in like 98 on Raw or some shit. The first one with Shawn Michaels. That's 7, actually. Batista. The Armageddon Hell in the Cell match. That's 9. What else was there? 01? I don't know if there was one in 01. Oh, the Brock Lesnar match is 10. The second Brock Lesnar match was 11. In 02 and 2015, respectively. The Shane match, how could we forget that one? It's 12 from 2016. I mentioned the Batista one. He did not have... Undertaker or Randy Orton. That would have been 13. That would have been Armageddon. I already mentioned the Batista one. I said Edge and CM Punk. So, yeah, I guess that would have been 14, right? And is there another one I'm not thinking of? The Punk one was in 2009, like I said earlier. I think I just named every fucking Undertaker Hell in the Cell match, which is insane. I don't know how I did that. Yeah, 14 Hell in the Cell matches. That's crazy. Fernando said, I am really enjoying the Seth versus Punk story. It is a throwback of bad blood, 2 wrestlers that lasts a good while. I agree. I agree personally. I've enjoyed the feud. I would prefer it wrap up soon. I agree. But it feels like a real feud where they just fucking hate each other. It's like Brett and Shawn in that way. A lot of feuds where, as opposed to, it's like, oh, I just want your title and we're just feuding for the sake of the story. Like, no, it feels like the bad blood between them is real. I'm sure they're on fine terms in real life. But in the context of the show, it does feel like they hate each other. And those type of people can feud on and off for years. Just not consistently, otherwise it gets old. But I do agree with that. It does feel like they have a real bad blood, beef for each other. And I think that makes for great television. Johnny said, who do you want to see Nikki face next? I don't know. I'm trying to think. The Becky feud is probably over. I would like to see them run it back on TV just to make up for their subpar match at the pay-per-view, what a lot of people thought was not a good match. That would be nice, although Becky would still win. Trying to think of who else she can work with, though. I feel like I like her better as a babyface, like I said, but I think turning her heel at some point might work because she does... a lot of people remember Nikki most for her heel work from years ago and the year-long reign that she had as Divas champion. Nikki Bella and Stephanie, I guess, because they did tease an alliance between the two, and that might have changed plans. They might have had to change plans after Naomi got hurt. But yeah, her and Stephanie, if they were to turn Nikki, would make sense. If not her... maybe Judgment Day, her and Roxanne, her and Raquel, not exactly, blockbuster matches, but I think there's something there maybe. I don't know. It depends how long Nikki's around for. I don't know if she's only around to do like a few feuds or like a few stories. I'm not exactly sure what their idea is with her. I do not know what she does next. It would not be going for the Women's World Championship, I'll tell you that much. And then as far as heels on the show, we just saw her and Nikki. Or her and Becky, rather. And again, like I said, I would have continued that, but Becky's moving on to other stuff. I don't know. I'm not really sure what you do with Nikki Bella next. Maybe her and Asuka at some point. I don't know if we ever got that match, because when Asuka arrived in the company in 2017, 2018, Nikki Bella was kind of winding down. So maybe Asuka, once they turn her heel, that might not be a bad idea. But it wouldn't be like all that soon, because Asuka and Kairi are doing the thing with Rhea and Io at the moment. Johnny says, I think Asuka and Kairi cost Io the title match against Stephanie. I could see that. Maybe unintentionally, because Io even told them, please do not get involved. They'll probably get involved. I fucking hate that idea, though, because they really want a clean finish, finally, to Io versus Stephanie after their last two matches ended in non-finishes. But I could see them going in that direction. Johnny said, how do you feel about WWE reusing an ECW pay-per-view name? I think it's fine. I just think I don't like Wrestlepalooza. I don't like that name. I think it's a stupid name. It just sounds like it's very outdated. A couple things here. The funny thing is, if you want to use an ECW pay-per-view name, they've used better ones before, like Heatwave, which we just fucking got a few weeks ago, was an ECW pay-per-view name. I like that name. You're not going to do Heatwave in September. There's no such thing as a Heatwave in September. I mean, usually, unless with global warming. But anyway, I think Guilty as Charged is a great ECW pay-per-view name. There's a lot of great ECW pay-per-view names that you could reuse that would make more sense than Wrestlepalooza. So here's the thing. I think why they're doing that, and I've seen people speculate this, and quite honestly, it makes sense to me. This is like one of those tinfoil hat conspiracy theories, but I feel like this makes sense. That they're using an ECW pay-per-view name just to be petty and stick it to Tony Khan. Because he's a big ECW mark. That's why they're in the ECW arena right now filming TV for the next couple of weeks. I mean, it's not really for us fans, because have they ever brought back an ECW pay-per-view name for a WWE main roster show? I don't think so. They've brought back WCW pay-per-view names, but again, primarily in NXT, not on the main roster. You could also have used Unforgiven. You can have used other old WWE pay-per-view names, or God forbid, make a new one that isn't shit. But they had to use Wrestlepalooza because I feel like they wanted to stick to Tony Khan, because they're running opposite of All Out that same night. So that's exactly why I think they're doing it. But otherwise, aside from being fucking petty, they own the rights to those names. They might as well use them. And I love the fact they brought back Halloween Havoc years ago for an NXT PLE. I would love for them to use that on the main roster, but at least it's being used at all. Like I said, Guilty as Charged is a great name. That's an ECW pay-per-view. Heatwave, I think, is a good name. There were other good ECW pay-per-view names. I don't remember what they were, but I remember Guilty as Charged being a great one. And I guess I answered your second question, too. You also said, what other ECW pay-per-view names should WWE or NXT use? Let me Google it real quick, actually. I mean, I already told you, Guilty as Charged. ECW pay-per-views. Let's see. ECW pay-per-view. Battle of the Belts. Ultra Clash. These are all like 94, 95. Hardcore Heaven, I think, is cool. That would that would have to be like an Extreme Rules type show. Wrestlepalooza, I just don't like the name. November to Remember, I always thought that was a great name. December to Dismember has unfortunately been just should be completely banned after that one terrible pay-per-view that WWE did in 2006. One of the worst shows of all time. So you can't really bring back December to Dismember. I like November to Remember, though. But the only way you would do that is if it's like the Saudi pay-per-view in early November, because you already have Survivor Series that same month. Cyber Slam, I think, is another one, another good one. Fight for the Power. Heatwave, I mentioned that one. WWE uses that now for NXT. Worlds Collide. I think that was a WCW show as well, if I'm not mistaken. They had a show called When Worlds Collide, but I think WCW had Worlds Collide, if I'm not mistaken. Holiday Hell, they probably wouldn't use that one. A lot of these names I don't love. Barely Legal, I think, is a great name. I like that name a lot. Barely Legal. That would be cool if they used that one. Ultimate Jeopardy. I like November to Remember. It Ain't Seinfeld. I think that aired opposite of the Seinfeld finale, right? That's fucking funny. I'm into 99 here. Break the Barrier, Heat Wave. Anarchy Rules is also a good one. I remember that show, like hearing, like I think I've watched one of those shows before. Living Dangerously is fine. Midtown Massacre. I mean, that took place in New York. Massacre on 34th Street is great. But I think WWE has used, like, they had the 34th Street fight shit, so probably not. But yeah, probably any of those. Anarchy Rules, Guilty as Charged, Barely Legal. I like those. So those would probably be my picks. Millennial Noob, what's going on, brother? He said how I'm doing. I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Hope you're doing well as well, Noob. I will be answering your questions that you sent in earlier ahead of the video a little bit later on. So stay tuned for that. Grunt said, what kind of matches do you think are underutilized in AEW/wrestling in general? For me, there's not enough tornado tags being booked. I'm also shocked at the lack of any elimination matches in AEW. That is also surprising. I think Tony Khan would really benefit from doing more tornado-style matches, and especially elimination matches. Now, that would make the matches longer, but for the sake of fucking variety, my man, stop doing the money matches, like the matches for money, like, oh, $500,000 are on the line. Who gives a shit? I don't care as a viewer. We know the money isn't real. Unless it is incorporated into some sort of a story where the winner uses the money to buy out someone's contract or something dumb like that. Otherwise, which is very rare, by the way, don't do them. The All-Star 8-mans, fucking stupid. The matches themselves are decent, but we see them literally every single week, sometimes twice a week, to the point where I remember none of them. I could not tell you my favorite one that they've done, because they all blend together because they do them so often. But anyway, instead of booking All-Stars and money matches, do a tornado match every once in a while. Do an elimination match once in a while. That would be great. We do see them more in WWE, which is awesome. But to see them more in AEW would be cool. I think an Iron Man match would be great. We do not see them nearly enough. And now, you can't do them all the time, otherwise they don't feel special. I agree with that. But, like, I don't think AEW, you don't have to call it an Iron Man match, because I think WWE might own the rights to that name itself. I don't know. I don't think AEW, which is very funny to me, considering their roster and the type of matches they have ever done an Iron Man match. Now, they've done 2 out of 3 falls. They've done matches with time limits, which basically are fucking Iron Man matches, especially when it's 2 out of 3 falls and it lasts like an hour. But I don't think they've ever done a formal Iron Man match. And in WWE, we haven't seen a formal Iron Man match, from what I can remember, in maybe since 2018, with Rollins and Ziggler at Extreme Rules. Now, I know they have Deadline. Whatever those matches are called, they do a Deadline every year. I enjoy those matches. Those are fun. Those are basically Iron Man matches, but not like a one-on-one Iron Man match or a tag team Iron Man match. That would probably be my answer. Fernando said, does Austin Theory still have a chance to salvage his run in WWE? Honestly, I don't think so. I feel like the only way he will be taken more seriously and really rehab his career is if he leaves or gets fired. I hate to say that, but I feel like that just makes the most sense. Maybe they can lend him out to TNA for 6 months. I just don't see it the rate that he's going, and I know he was hurt, but even before he got hurt, even well before he got hurt, his career was going nowhere fast. He beat John Cena, which was more of a burial than a real benefit to him, and he has done absolutely nothing since then. Now, the stuff with Waller was entertaining for a time. They won the tag titles. I thought that was cool, but that lasted way too fucking long. They've been teasing tension now for like a year and a half, and even when he got hurt, they kind of broke up the team. I mean, why not just break him up a year ago, 6 months ago? I don't know, man. It doesn't make any sense to me. But, no, honestly, even if Theory comes back, I just feel like so much damage has been done. And he's been off the show now for so long. People just will not care. I feel like the damage has been done, and you cannot... I mean, he's young enough and he's talented enough to where I do think he can be successful, either here or somewhere else. But he's got to go first. It's like the Drew McIntyre thing. Honestly, I don't think... If they had tried doing with Drew what they did in like 2019, 2020, made him like the guy. If they tried doing that with Drew when he was still a member of 3MB, even if they really like gradually built him back up, I still don't think it would work, because they did so much damage to him when he was buried beyond belief in 2010, 2011, 2012, and then was a member of 3MB for like 2 fucking years. He was such a joke. Now, Theory isn't as much of a joke as McIntyre was at that point. Like, he was a legit joke. So much damage was done, there was no way that he could be taken seriously again. Honestly, you could probably say the same thing about Cody Rhodes, where I thought if they made him Cody Rhodes again in like 2016, he really could have been a star for that company. And he is now, but I honestly don't even think had they tried with Cody in 2016, I feel like so much damage was done with the Stardust shit, he had to leave. I feel like Rollins, or not Rollins, definitely not Rollins, Theory actually. I was thinking because Rollins almost recruited Theory at the pay-per-view on Sunday, that's what people wanted. I feel like Theory's in that same boat, where he has to leave in order to really salvage his run in the company. I would love to see Stephanie win the IC championship. That would be fun, Nathaniel said. I agree. She was a great North American champion for as long as she held that championship, so why not? Noob said, I believe that Becky won't have problems feuding with Kairi Sane for the women's IC title. WWE needs something to do something with Kairi, other than her being a background character in the Asuka and Io storyline. I'd be down for that. I would like to see Becky and Kairi and feud over the women's IC championship. I think that'd be fun. Maria said, do we know that AJ is fully healthy? I know she suffered a serious neck injury a long time ago. Yeah, she said for a long time that was the reason why we would never see her back in the ring. But then she said in an interview like a while later that I think she could go if she wanted to. I think she was interviewed for that promotion that she was working for or managing. Maybe still does. I don't know. The fucking WoW promotion that Tessa Blanchard was a part of all those years ago. AJ was not wrestling there, but she was like running it. Maybe she still does. I don't know. She was a pretty like influential person behind the scenes. And she was doing an interview promoting the promotion. And she said that she could technically wrestle if she wanted to. She just had no interest. Now, that was a few years ago. And with the neck injuries, honestly, like, especially if you're a big enough star, even if her health isn't 100%, they will make an exception for her to come back. If they know they can play it safe and she won't get hurt, they'll make an exception. I've said this before, like Jason Jordan, Tyson Kidd. Now, Tyson Kidd's injury was really fucking serious. I guarantee you, though, if Jason Jordan was a bigger star, they would have made an exception to get him back in the ring at some point. Edge's injury was considered like career-ending. Brian, I think that was a neck thing, was it not? Or was it a concussion thing? I don't remember. But like all the people that suffered neck injuries, Paige as well, it was pretty drastic there for a while. These companies, if you're a big enough star and your health is good enough, after a while with the neck injuries, you'll probably be back in the ring, which is why I've always said I do think Big E will wrestle again. Maybe not a full-on active run, but I feel like at some point, and I mean, again, he was like a Tyson Kidd type of injury where it was like he could have died. Like those other folks, I don't know if they would have died necessarily. Big E, I think the situation with him was much more dire. I still feel like once his neck heals, as more time goes on, not in like the next 2-3 years, maybe like 5-10 years from now, we just don't know. I could see him coming back for at least a one-off if they feel like they can allow him, he can do enough in the ring to justify clearing him for a match like that. So my answer to that is I think AJ is able to wrestle if she wanted to. I've heard nothing suggesting otherwise in the last few years. What should be next for Punk after Seth? Good question. That was a question from Fernando. What's next for Punk after Seth? I honestly don't really know. Maybe you can have him run it back with Gunther when he comes back at some point soon. I think he broke his nose either before or at SummerSlam, so that's why he has not been around lately. Him and Knight would be fucking awesome, to be honest with you. You would have to turn LA Knight heel. I think you would probably have to, but I feel like more of Punk and Knight would be awesome. I don't really want to see Punk and Reed or Punk and Breaker because he's basically still working with the Vision at that point. So I don't really want to see either one of those matches right now, or at least until the Vision is over. Could you ship Punk to SmackDown, have him win the Rumble, and then he challenges for the WWE title over on SmackDown? That's possible by the time the Seth stuff is over. He's not going for like the fucking Intercontinental Championship. I could see us getting Punk and Dom at some point. It probably would not be for the IC title. Punk and like the Judgment Day feels like a downgrade to me. Like whatever Punk does next has to make sense. I feel like that's the best part of his run so far in the last 2 years in WWE, where it feels like everything he's done has had a logical transition and has made sense. Like, he's only really worked with, he's worked with a lot of people, but he's only really had 2 major feuds, with Drew and with Rollins. And other people have been mixed in here and there, Gunther for a few weeks and Roman as part of the Rollins stuff and whatnot. But he's largely only really worked with those 2 people, and both of those feuds have made sense, because Drew hurt him, and then they incorporated that into the story. If McIntyre did not hurt him, did not injure Punk legitimately last year at the Rumble, they probably would have never done that feud. They probably would have had one match at like fucking Elimination Chamber and then moved on. But I'm really glad we got that feud because it was great. And him and Rollins overall has also been very good. But whatever he does next has to make sense. I don't know if he's world champion to that point. I don't know if he's world champion to the end of the story. I just don't know. I want to say yes, because it's like he's lost to Rollins so much, he kind of has to give the guy his comeuppance at some point. And is that taking the title, or is that just beating Rollins in some form or fashion in this mixed tag team match, and then we just move on? Let's see. Nathaniel said, I think whoever wins the match at All Out between Cope and Christian versus FTR beats Bro Dito for the tag titles. Yeah, maybe. Honestly, FTR beating Cope and Christian already had the reunion match at Forbidden Door. This is not their first match back. FTR would get such big fucking heat from beating those guys that they probably then should. Here's the thing. FTR really should have won the tag titles from Hurt Syndicate. They put the belts on Bro Dito instead. Bro Dito, great tag team. But it was a really random makeshift team. You have other teams who could put the belts on, including FTR, which I know they've already held the belts 2 or 3 different times at this point. But maybe they did what they did because they don't want FTR versus Cope and Christian right now to be for the tag titles. Honestly, you could do a situation where Cope and Christian beat FTR at All Out, and then they make the claim, hey, we beat you, and now that you guys are the tag team champions, why would FTR get a shot at the titles after just losing to Cope and Christian? I don't know. But you could say, hey, we own the last, we own a win over you. We were one of the last teams to beat you. We should get the next shot of the tag titles. And then we have more matches between them at the end of the year or early next year. There's a lot of different ways they can go with it. I'm kind of curious to see how they handle that, if there's really much of a plan in place there, because it kind of feels thrown together. Cope and Christian will be tag team champions eventually. There is no doubt about that in my mind whatsoever. Maria said there should have been more than one women's match at Clash in Paris. What would that match have been? I probably... Honestly, you could have taken away the WWE Tag Team title match. I think they only did that match so they can get the Wyatt Six in Paris, which is fine. It made for a great entrance, a great moment when the crowd was singing the Wyatt Six song. That was awesome. But that match was kind of unnecessary. It made the show longer than it needed to. For the Women's U.S. Championship right now, there is just fucking nothing going on. Nothing. That Meech and Kiana James shit that we saw last week on SmackDown was such a waste of time. The match went all of 5 seconds. And Kiana James' first match back, she lost immediately. And I don't even give a fuck about Kiana James, but it's like, all right, if you kind of want people to take this pairing between her and Julia seriously, she's got to win something. Not exactly how you do it. The match would not have been all that great anyway, but it was not a great indication of what they have in store for Kiana, and maybe by association, Julia as well. We'll see where they go with that one. Yeah, so it would not have been the Women's United States Championship and then the Women's World Championship. Like, honestly, what they announced for Wrestlepalooza, they could have just done a Clash in Paris. You really did not have to wait until Wrestlepalooza. At this point, they probably just wanted to stack Wrestlepalooza with that match between Stephanie and Io. You could have just done that at Clash in Paris. I would have done that at Clash in Paris. Maybe probably instead of Becky and Nikki. But... they wanted to do what they did instead. I understand it. It made for a good show. Could have been better, but I thought it was a fine show. Fernando said Barely Legal was a good name. Alexis does not agree. She says Barely Legal creeps her out. Daniel, what's going on, brother? He's got the salute in the chat. She said, was Barely Legal sponsored by Bill Belichick and Jerry Lawler? Fernando said, get your hand... Yeah, exactly. Get your head out of the gutter, Alexis. I agree. Noob said, Anarchy Rules, isn't that the name of the ECW video game from the mid-90s on the N64 and PlayStation 1? It might have been. I don't remember. I just remember the name being used at one point. And then I saw it, all the list of pay-per-view names. And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that one. Oh, of course. Grunt said, how can I forget the Danielson and MJF Iron Man match? You're right. That was one of the best AEW matches of all time. One of my favorite AEW matches, honestly, probably of all time. How the fuck could I forget about that? You're right. I guess I should rephrase my question. It's not that I'm surprised that AEW has not done an Iron Man match. I'm more surprised that they've only done one of them. Let's put it that way. And at least that match was amazing, and in my opinion, the best Iron Man match of all time in any company, from that I've seen, in my opinion. I'm just surprised they've only done one, considering their matches go long anyway. Johnny said, Anarchy Rules can be WWE's answer to AEW Anarchy in the Arena. God, please do not fucking do an Anarchy Rules match. If you want to name the show Anarchy Rules, cool. But to do an Anarchy in the Arena type match in WWE, that would be fucking awful. I don't really like the AEW ones, to be honest. Grunt said, AEW 3-way or 4-way elimination matches would be fun as hell, no doubt. They could also take the advantage of WWE no longer doing Survivor Series elimination tag matches by doing their own. I completely agree. I think WWE should bring those back, but if they're not going to, because they're really intent on doing War Games at the same time every year, don't love that idea. I totally agree. I think it would be great if AEW did something similar, where it's either over Thanksgiving weekend in Survivor Series-esque fashion, or they just do it when it makes sense. I would prefer to see more elimination tag matches, maybe with a stip. I know AEW did one a few years ago with Omega and Page. They had a big elimination tag match with those guys, and that was where if Page won, he would have earned the opportunity. Like, he was already in storyline scheduled to face Omega for the AEW World Championship at All Out. And then because Omega's team, the Elite, won that match, he lost that opportunity until Full Gear. And they got back to it for Full Gear, like I said. But they've done elimination tag matches before, just not enough. And it would be cool if they capitalized on the fact, like you said, of WWE not doing Survivor Series elimination tag matches anymore. Nathaniel said, do you want Drew McIntyre to be babyface? It will happen eventually, not anytime soon. Drew is such a great fucking heel. He's doing awesome work. He was doing awesome work last year. I've enjoyed his work this year. There is no reason to make that man a babyface anytime soon. You also don't need him as a babyface. You have Punk. You turned Rollins, but Roman's a massive babyface when he's around. You have Roman, Punk, Jey Uso, who's uber popular, LA Knight, who's uber popular. Cody Rhodes is the fucking guy as the WWE champion. Randy Orton, who should turn at some point. But you have already a surplus of babyfaces. They need more top heels. Keep him heel, please. Daniel said, Cena torch theory, so did Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns. The Cena one hit different, though. The Cena torching of Theory really ruined his career. I know Owens and Roman have also said things about Theory and storyline on the shows, but that Cena promo fucking buried that man 10 feet under. And he just never really recovered. Do you think Austin Theory can reach the level of Drew and Cody during their time away from WWE? Johnny said. In my opinion, no. I think Austin Theory can be a top guy for WWE. I thought that a few years ago. I still feel that way now. I just feel like Drew and Cody were always levels above Theory in terms of their skill set, their promos. Like I was going to say, I saw glimmers of their greatness in WWE many years ago, and not with Theory, but that's actually not true. With Theory, too, I kind of saw how he could be a top star in WWE, but they just never really pushed him in that direction, and the booking failed him to a large degree. It's not like he got himself in trouble. The company really fucking failed Austin Theory for the most part. Could he follow in the footsteps of Drew and Cody? Yes. Could he be successful as Drew and Cody? In my opinion, no. I don't think so. I just feel like they are bigger stars, not even just like now, but in terms of their potential and their ceilings. I always thought Cody and Drew could be like, specifically Cody could be like the guy. Theory I thought could be a world champion in WWE, but so is Jack fucking Swagger. That doesn't mean that he could be the guy, you know? But I would love for him to prove me wrong. Nathaniel said, Becky Lynch won't beat everyone for the IC Championship. I would be shocked if she beats Stephanie clean. I'd be shocked if she beats Stephanie at all. If they do a feud between Stephanie and Becky, there's a pretty big fucking chance Stephanie would beat her for the belt. Assuming Stephanie does not win the Women's World Championship next weekend, or in a couple of weeks. Johnny said, who are wrestlers who should and can follow in the footsteps of Drew and Cody? I think Ziggler would have been one of those guys, honestly. Had he left the company a fucking decade earlier, 5 to 10 years earlier, he honestly could have been one of those guys that could have really left and become a much bigger star. And he's doing great work in TNA. But, like, I could have seen him leaving for 5 years and then coming back and having this amazing return run. if he comes back now, he would just be he would be on the same exact spot he was in before we left, especially at this point. But Ziggler could have been that guy. Theory, I think, can be. I don't know. I want to say Carmelo Hayes. I want them to get it right with Hayes so he doesn't have to leave. But hopefully Carmelo Hayes can rise to that level without leaving. But he might have to leave to prove to this company, hey, I'm a much bigger star than what you see me as currently. Hopefully I'm wrong on that one, but I think Hayes could benefit potentially. Gable, he re-signed. So honestly, if there was any chance of him leaving and then doing well and coming back, that ship has sailed. He's not going anywhere. That's really about it. I'm trying to think of other people in Raw and SmackDown. Give me some suggestions, and I'll tell you if I think that could work. Maybe Montez Ford. I saw Fernando ask, should the Profits break up? Yes, they should have broken up fucking years ago. I love the Profits, but they have long overstayed their welcome as a tag team. They're an awesome team. But I just see Montez Ford wasting away as far as his potential. He could have been a top guy or close to a top guy 2-3 years ago. What the fuck are we doing? Why are we waiting this long? They have other teams they could replace the Profits with. We don't need the Profits at this point in the tag team division. It's time to move on. Montez Ford might be one of those guys. Now, he's getting older, so we're not really at that, we don't have all the time in the world with Montez Ford. But at the same time, Cody Rhodes was around that same age that Montez Ford quit the company and Cody Rhodes went elsewhere. Maybe Montez Ford, the same thing happens with him. He might have to. That might be the only way they see him as a top single star. Maria said, is the WWE fumbling Julia? Currently, yes. Overall, they put the Women's United States Championship on her, which was a nice step. But that was a fucking month and a half ago, 5-6 weeks ago. She has done nothing since. She's barely on the show. She was at Evolution. Other than that match, I don't think she's wrestled on TV a single time. She's largely only ever been regulated to backstage segments, and when she appeared in front of the crowd this past week, it was to accompany Kiana James for a match where their entrances lasted longer than the match itself. So yes, they are fumbling Julia at the moment. I feel like she will be fine, but I don't know why they're not really making her a bigger priority than she is at the moment. The SmackDown women's division in general has a lot of great women in it, but they're not exactly booking that women's division as well as they possibly could be right now. Daniel said, Brian did have a neck issue, but I'm pretty sure it was the concussion thing that forced retirement. Yeah, I think the neck issue might have been 2014, and then the concussion was 2015. Could be wrong on that, though. Daniel also said, I feel like the Punk-Seth feud is slowly getting towards Cena-Orton territory. Yeah, they haven't had as many matches, but man, they've been interacting literally since Punk came back. I agree and disagree. In terms of the interactions, they've had a lot of them. But the Punk-Rollins feud, the thing with the Cena-Orton feud, they just had a million fucking matches. And honestly, the feud itself wasn't really all that great. People remember, Orton punting Cena's father and whatever. That was once. How many great moments in that feud did we actually get in the course of 10 years? Not a lot. We got some very good matches out of it, but the feud itself was really not that great. On the mic, the promos were pretty fucking boring. With Punk and Rollins, the feuds, the promos during the feud have been much better. The matches are much better. The storyline makes way more sense. It feels way more heated. Cena and Orton goes back to what I was saying earlier about great feuds in WWE and just in wrestling in general. Those really just felt like two guys, or they worked well together, but it felt like two guys just paired up for the sake of being paired up on TV. Because Cena needed an opponent, and Orton needed someone to challenge. And that's it. I didn't really feel like there was any point during that feud, aside from maybe early on in 2007, where they felt like hated rivals. They just had matches for the sake of having fucking matches. At least with Punk and Rollins, it feels like they actually hate each other, and whenever they interact for the most part, it feels like, to me, still must-see TV. Nathaniel said, I think Punk should win the championship at some point. I agree. I lost respect for Hurt Syndicate, Nathaniel said, talking about probably the FTR, not wanting to lose to the FTR and all that other shit. Tony Khan letting them get away with that is even worse. Hurt Syndicate not wanting to lose to them is stupid. But then Tony Khan saying, oh yeah, then we'll book it as a 3-way and not have you get pinned and you'll brawl to the back. It's like, what the fuck are we doing here? Grunt says, hard agree, best Iron Man match, no question. Talking about MJF and Bryan, I agree. Johnny said, R. Kelly's favorite pay-per-view name is Barely Legal. You're probably right on that. Everyone agrees that Bryan versus MJF is the best Iron Man match. I'm glad we all agree. Do you want to see a Becky Lynch versus Jade feud in match? Not really. I mean, at some point we'll probably get it because it's a fresh feud. Is it a feud I'm clamoring for? Not really. I think Becky might get the best out of Jade, but not really a feud I'm clamoring for. I'd rather see Bianca and Jade, actually. I feel like that makes more sense, and that's something I'd much rather see. Drew's the best heel in wrestling? He might be. In wrestling, I don't know, but definitely in WWE at the moment. Unless there's a better one I'm not thinking of, but AEW has MJF, but I would still probably go Drew overall. Johnny said, will you watch the Street Fighter movie when it comes out? Probably not. Would I watch it for Cody and Roman being in it? Maybe. Would I want to watch it in general? No, I don't really care personally. But maybe solely for them, I might watch it. Nathaniel said, if Cena beats Theory at WrestleMania 39, that would have destroyed him even more. It would have. It would have. But honestly, the result of that match, Cena literally told us in the promo with Theory when he came back in March of 2023, he legitimately said in that promo, it does not matter if you beat me or if you lose to me. People still will not care about you. And that may not have been necessarily true, or maybe it was, but you're basically just prophesizing that into existence. You're speaking that into existence by having it comfort, like not only just saying it, but having John Cena of all people say it, who holds a lot of equity, obviously, with the audience. I thought that was a really fucking dumb thing to say. He legitimately said, and in later video packages, they took it out because it was a stupid thing to say. I'm going to have to go back and watch that segment. That segment, I can't even believe that segment existed. He legitimately said during the segment, it does not matter who wins. If you beat me or lose to me, you will still be, no one will give a fuck about you. You will still be a loser. I was like, what are we doing? That's basically telling people, don't give a shit about this match. That was insane. I don't know if that was Cena saying that or if that was the writers telling him to say that, but that was insane. That was a wild thing to say. That was different than Cena burying Roman in that segment back in 2019 or 2017. That was different because that had more truth to it. The Theory thing, Theory was well on his way to upper mid-card status, main event status. He was headlining Raws at that point. He was the United States champion. He was getting a lot of heat. He was doing really well. That Cena feud, promo, match, whatever you want to call it, completely derailed the man. He was never the same since. Speaking of heels, do you think SmackDown's women's division is lacking in top heels, new bast? Yes. So they have Tiffany, they have Jade, both baby faces. They have Nia, but Nia's already been the top heel there for a while. We got to find someone else. Bianca's a baby face when she comes back. They have Julia, but she's clearly at the mid-card level. They do need better top heels, I agree. Completely agree. I would either turn Jade or Bianca, or if not both, but at least one of them. It's desperately needed. Richie, what's going on, brother? He said, I am late. Hello, everyone. Richie, thanks for joining as always. Great to see you yesterday. We had a great Labor Day together, hanging out. Daniel said, it feels like Triple H hates Theory professionally speaking. He might, honestly, because I feel like Theory, if Vince McMahon was still running WWE, Theory probably, for better or for worse, would have been world champion by now. I mean, he was the last person that Vince booked to win Money in the Bank. I don't know if it's because he saw him as a Vince guy. I mean, I think he helped hire him when he was in NXT in 2019, so it's not like he doesn't like Theory at all. But even in NXT, to be quite honest, he never booked Theory as the top guy on that show. Theory got called up quickly and then got demoted back down to NXT. But even when he was in NXT, he was only ever a comedy guy. He was only ever a comedy guy and never won anything, I think, in NXT at any point. So even then, he didn't really seem as much of a priority, which I disagree with on that. I feel like Theory could be a bigger star than he is, but that's just me. Maybe he pissed in his coffee or something. I have no fucking clue. Let's see. Daniel said, just backtracking a little bit here. How they've booked Carmelo on the main roster is exactly how I feared they would because of his size. I thought they were starting a Montez singles push in 2023. Yeah, it looked like they were going to start that push in 2023, and then they completely moved away from it. It looked like they were pushing him. Honestly, that mini push they gave him in early 2023 was well-deserved, but in retrospect, they only did it for that reality show because it was covered on the reality show, and then they did nothing with either of them after that. Or not either of them. Bianca was always a star, but I mean, either of the Prophets specifically. And it went nowhere. So I feel like they only did that for the reality show, and they had no interest in pushing them beyond that. But with the Carmelo thing, you're right. I don't know if it's a size thing or if they just, I mean, they made him number 1 SmackDown draft pick, which means nothing in retrospect because he has done shit since then. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's really weird, the whole Carmelo thing. I don't know why they're dragging their feet with him. The size thing doesn't help, but the guy can be a much bigger star than he is. Hopefully we're headed in that direction with him splitting off from The Miz imminently. It appears we're headed in that direction, which is great. Daniel said, I mean, Jey Uso is older in age and in a tag team forever when he got over as a solo act, so maybe the same can happen for Montez. Yeah, that is possible. Jey Uso is fucking late 30s at that point. The difference with Jey, though, the real reason why he got over as a singles act, he was not getting over on his own before the Bloodline. I mean, the Usos were only ever a tag team for well over a decade when the Bloodline started. The biggest reason why he got over on his own was because he was involved in a top heel act on the show with Roman Reigns. If that does not happen, Jey Uso is not a world champion. He is not where he is today. Montez Ford, I just do not see the Profits or Ford himself being involved in a top heel act. Unless he's paired with Bianca, which would be amazing, I feel like. I feel like there's a lot of untapped potential as a heel pairing specifically. Aside from that, I don't see him doing breaking off on... Like, I don't see fans really rallying behind him as a singles act. If it hasn't happened yet, they're not going to. They need to be given a reason to care about him on his own. And WWE has shown no inclination, no impression. They've given me zero impression that they are headed in that direction anytime soon. Nathaniel says he prefers Edge versus Cena over Orton versus Cena. I agree with that. I think Edge and Cena had better chemistry in pretty much every respect. Specifically the feud. I feel like there's a lot more memorable moments from their feud than the Orton-Cena feud. Better promos, better matches, better feud moments. Fernando said, which young prospect can be the next Cena and Cody as the face of the franchise, or the face of, like, the franchise of WWE? Obafemi, honestly. I feel like Obafemi, I don't know if he's the guy, but he's going to be fucking high up on that list. He feels more like a Brock to me, but I feel like, I mean, they also tried to make Brock the face of the franchise in 04, 02 to 04. Probably Obafemi. On the main roster currently, I don't know who really stands out as being the next guy, but Jacob Fatu's a big star, waiting to break out beyond the level that he's currently in. Jacob's great, but I look at Obafemi and think, yeah, he's a guy you can make world champion a few times over. He'll do really well. He's great in the ring. He's a good talker. He's got, obviously, the size on him. He's a young prospect you can push. Grunt said, if Paige and Omega teaming up isn't leading to a match between them for the title at All Out, which I'm hoping and praying for. I know he's going to be there, so he wants to see it. Who in the Don Callis family deserves that shot? Wardlow, maybe? Holy fuck. I don't know if that is a real question or not, Grunt. I love you, brother. You said who deserves the shot. In what fucking universe? In what multiverse? And I love Wardlow. I think Wardlow's great. But in what alternate timeline has Wardlow done anything in the last year and a half? Because he was gone for a year and a half, and then he was a background player on Wednesday's Dynamite last week wearing a fucking suit doing nothing. No explanation as to why he joined the Don Callis family. In what universe would that man have deserved the shot at the AEW World Championship? At this point, that would just be a joke, and especially since we know he's not going to win. His last match, actually, on TV was a world title opportunity against Samoa Joe. He lost clean, and then we did not see him again for another year and a half. It would absolutely not be Wardlow. I feel like fucking Rocky Romero would make more sense than Wardlow at this point. But who from the group? I mean, they're giving Josh Alexander more wins. The only issue with that, I like Adam Page and Josh, but couple issues. One, we already saw the match during the Owen Hart Cup, and Alexander lost to Adam Page. That was when Josh debuted. He already lost to him. And two, he's been picking up more wins recently in tag team matches, but they have not focused on Josh as a singles act at all since he debuted. He's only ever really been a tag team guy or a background player. So that's not a pay-per-view match. If it is, that's not the main event. If you really want to counteract WWE's Wrestlepalooza, and I know All Out came first, that is not an attraction at all. I'm sorry. Omega and Page makes way more sense, and you could do their rubber match and Page beats them. I like that match way more than anyone from the Don Callis family stepping up. I like Hechicero, but he just challenged for the Ring of Honor World title and lost. That really wouldn't make sense. Okada, but he's busy with Swerve. You said I would say Okada or Takeshita, but I'm hoping they're finally going to do that match between them at All Out. Okada would just be stupid. If they had Okada challenge Page, I mean, that's a big match, but like Okada's already the unified champion. Focus on that. Takeshita to me would make more sense. He hasn't really done a whole lot to earn that opportunity, mind you, but the match would be awesome. So I'll just take that. I'll say Takeshita. Josh Alexander probably on TV, but at All Out, I would take Omega. Not a member of the Don Callis family, but as you said, that match makes the most sense. That is the biggest attraction they can book that would make sense at this current moment. Daniel said, I agree, Punk Seth feels like real-life hatred. Do you think they've squashed whatever issue they've had behind the scenes? I do. I don't think they have, like, Brett Shawn heat from 97. I think they've long moved past that. I feel like whatever beef they had, I don't feel like they're best friends. They're probably not on their respective Christmas card lists. But I feel like they're willing to work with each other, and whatever issues they had deep down, and honestly, it probably was never really that serious. It was only ever a professional thing, and one talking shit about the other in interviews. Once you actually work with the person and realize it's not that big of a deal, and I feel like they made it a bigger deal than it actually was just for the sake of getting people talking. Yeah, I feel like whatever issues they had with each other, they probably squashed as soon as Punk came back. And they may have even told him to. Triple H may have been like, hey, pal, we're going to feud with you with Rollins because it makes sense. But if there's any real-life animosity here, you don't have to love the guy, but you need to knock that shit off. We are not doing what you did in AEW over here. You have to fucking play ball and behave. Alexis said, what's the worst feud in WWE going on right now? The worst feud going on right now? I don't know. Looking at the roster, what's the worst feud going on right now? I have no idea. I'm trying to think. I'm looking at the Raw roster to see, like, Julia and Michin, I know it just started, but whatever they've done with them so far has been awful. Solo and Jacob would be up there. I mean, their feud made sense, but, like, thankfully Solo lost the U.S. Championship last week. I like Solo, but his booking was abysmal. Solo's run as U.S. champion was horrific, so I'm glad that's over with. I mean, that would have been up there because the whole MFT shit, I like the group, but the feud I just did not give a fuck about at all. What's going on over at SmackDown at the moment? Jade and Tiffany might be the worst feud. Are they feuding? Are they friends? They're not really likable. I would probably go with that. I mean, the match at SummerSlam wasn't really all that good anyway either. Whatever they're doing with Grande Americano, like, it's funny, but it's really worn out its welcome, and it's like, what's going on here? Like, where are we going with this? Him costing AJ the win last night was fucking stupid. I'm sorry. The way they did it anyway was just dumb. It's like, what is this supposed to be accomplishing? You know what I mean? Yeah, it'd probably either be Jade and Tiffany or Solo and Jacob if that's still going on. I think it is. I'm not really sure. I probably would go with that. There might be worse feuds going on right now, but those are the ones I remember anyway. Let's see. AJ, what's going on? He said, what is your best let's see. Oh, okay. What is your best so bad that it's actually good now match? Mine would probably be Hogan and Shawn from SummerSlam. That's a good question. A match so bad that it's good. I don't know if it's so bad that it's good, but I think Shane and Vince is a fucking train wreck. And it doesn't age well with, like, Trish being all sexual with Vince. It's fucking weird. That match is, like, so dumb. But, like, Linda getting a massive pop for standing out of the wheelchair was incredible. I don't care what the fuck you say about either one of those people. Probably justified. That moment was amazing for how ridiculous wrestling can be. So, honestly, it might be Vince and Shane from WrestleMania 17. Daniel said, do you think they are still high on Jade, WWE that is? Or do you think people like a Steph, Julia, or the NXT women are going to pass her by? No, I feel like they're still high on Jade. I mean, she's had a decent run so far. Like, anyone saying, oh, she's been a flop. Like, no, she was doing the stuff with Bianca as a tag team, and they really got over in that role. And then she got hurt. She was off TV for a while. She's been a regular on TV since the beginning of the year. They had her win Queen of the Ring. Their booking of her has been questionable overall this year, but, you know, I don't think they've given up on her. Someone that looks like that specifically, like the goddess that she is, I don't see them giving up on her. Unless she is egregiously awful. And she's not. She might not be great in the ring, but she's decent enough to where I always see her getting an opportunity. And I feel like she does have a high ceiling for them. So No, I don't see them giving up on Jade unless she, again, pisses someone off backstage or she just continues to have bad performances or whatnot. I think she'll always have a spot at the top of that roster. She'll always get more opportunities than someone like a Julia, for example, who is awesome. But Jade was over from the moment they brought her in. Julia's not. Stephanie was over, but she had a great run in NXT. She was a little bit different. Daniel also said, I cannot believe Cena thought that line was a good idea. Yeah, towards Theory, that was a fucking wild thing to say. Grunt said, I feel like the only person on the planet who enjoyed the Oddities versus Kaientai match from SummerSlam 98 for what it was. Oh, he was the only... Oh, okay. He feels like the only person who enjoyed that match. I have no recollection of the match whatsoever. I saw the pay-per-view once when I reviewed it many years ago. I have not seen it since. I certainly do not remember that match. Top 5 burials in WWE. What does top 5 even mean? Like best burials? I don't know, but Cena certainly buried Theory with that promo. We also buried Wyatt during their program. That really ruined Bray Wyatt for a very long time back in 2014. I would constitute that as a burial. Triple H burying Punk in their Night of Champions match in 2011 was pretty fucking dumb. Those are the big ones. I'm sure there's many more. Triple H burying Booker T at WrestleMania 19. It was just sad. I mean, taking an hour to cover the guy after all the racist comments he made about him leading up to the match, and he never gives Triple H's comeuppance was just terrible. Those are some of the ones that come to mind. No L, what's going on? They said Cena match destroyed Theory. There was no coming back from that. I mean, not even the match. It was the promo, really. Even more so the promo than the match, in my opinion. Johnny said, is Shawn and Marty breakup as The Rocker still the best tag team breakup? It would have to be. That moment on the barbershop is still considered a classic moment, as it should be. Great heel turn, really, skyrocketed Shawn's singles career. Marty not so much, but Shawn certainly for sure. Yeah, I mean, there's other great tag team breakups, but that might be the first one. That's got to be the best one. It was the formula for great tag team breakups in the years that followed. Also, this was actually before that, but the Mega Powers, the breakup of Hogan and Savage was very memorable. But the best one to me might be Shawn and Marty. I would probably agree with that. Alexis agrees. Turn Bianca heel for fuck's sake. I agree. Daniel said, I remember he said something similarly detrimental about AJ Styles when they feuded before the Rumble. To the point, Cena on the next SmackDown essentially apologized and took it back. I think I remember what you're talking about. I mean, the fact that we don't really remember it means it wasn't that bad. Cena has said a lot of dumb things in his promos sometimes that are just fucking dumb. I don't really even think that what he said about his opponents is all that, damning. What I think is worse about Cena, and he does this even to today, to the day, to this day, where he will lose a match and then not sell it at all. He'll just come back and win or act like nothing's wrong. He'll do that to this day, but it was a lot worse 10, 15 years ago. He would lose the title, then come right back out as if nothing happened. That honestly was worse than anything he could have said that was damning about his opponents. Because it made it seem like him losing meant nothing. And it was a complete waste of fucking time. Richie said, there was some levity of truth to what Cena said. No one talks about that Mania match with Theory because it sucked. Cena got washed and had zero offense. Both men looked like fools in the end. Yeah, I mean, Cena's to blame for that as well. I mean, Theory, I'm not saying he was, if he was a truly exceptional talent, he probably could have overcome that adversity and the criticism and whatnot. But the issue with the match was that it wasn't good, and Cena himself looked like he was going through the motions. Cena felt like in that promo, into the match itself, he did not give a fuck. It felt like they just told him to do it, and he does everything they tell him to do. But that feud specifically, and that match specifically, felt like he did not give a fuck. He was out there doing his thing, collecting a paycheck, and heading on home after it was over. Brock does that in a lot of his matches. Cena does not. That match, more than most, it felt like it was basic Cena on autopilot. Like he had no desire to help Theory, put the guy over. The only way he actually elevated him, which he didn't, was by losing. The promos, the match itself, he did nothing to make Theory look like a big deal whatsoever. It was a complete waste of fucking time. So Cena is to blame for that as well. Theory has a little bit to blame, but more so Cena in my opinion. Turn Mia Yim heel? He said turn Mia Yam heel, I think Johnny said. Yeah. I like Mia Yim. I don't know turning her heel is really the best idea. I don't really know if it's going to make much of a difference. Just turn both Bianca and Bianca. I think what you mean, Daniel, is Bianca and Montez, I think is what you mean. Nathaniel said, I think Christian is one of the best heels in AEW. How would you feel if he turns babyface? It's going to happen at some point. I mean, at least it's not abrupt. The whole dead father thing is kind of like, it still gets a big reaction. I mean, personally, Christian babyface to me, I love babyface Christian because I love babyface Christian in WWE. So people prefer the heel stuff because he's doing great heel work in AEW and he has for the last few years. But if he goes back to being like a full-fledged babyface, and not just a fan favorite teaming with Cope, but like a full-on babyface that he was when he first arrived in the company a few years ago, people won't be happy about it, but it's going to happen because people love the guy, and he's also a great babyface. Maybe not as good of a heel, as good of a babyface as he is a heel, but he is also a great babyface, so I would have no issue with it personally. It will happen inevitably. Grunt said, Cena putting down AJ like that was the last time I truly felt the Cena hate. And of course, when WWE uploaded his post-Rumble promo, they cut out his apology to Styles. That is fucking hilarious. So Grunt remembers that. I don't. I do not remember that at all. I remember him putting down AJ. I don't remember the apology. That is hilarious. Who is your favorite Street Fighter character, Johnny asked. I don't have one. I don't play Street Fighter. I've probably played it on like an arcade game once or twice. Or is that Mortal Kombat? I think it's Street Fighter. I don't remember. I do not have a favorite Street Fighter character, though. Did I ever watch the Montez Bianca show? Daniel said. Yes, I did. I also reviewed the show, I think here for the channel last year. Alexis and I watched it. A few months after it came out, I interviewed Bianca and Montez for it, actually. We were in Disney on Alexis's graduation trip, whatever, and we went to the Rumble after that. But when we were in Disney was when I was supposed to do the interview with Bianca and Montez to promote the show. The interview's here on the channel if you want to check it out. It's from last year. I'm literally sitting outside of the Tower of Terror interviewing Montez for this show and Bianca. And I told them that, and they were really cool about it. I saw Montez that weekend at the Royal Rumble to interview him for the Rumble. And he was like, oh, how was Disney and whatnot? Yeah, I remember you from a couple days ago. So I talked to him twice in the span of a few days, which was funny. But yeah, I did watch the show. I enjoyed it. Kind of had an underwhelming ending because they were like, oh, we're going to have kids or are we not? And the answer was no at that point. And then it's kind of weird. It felt like an abrupt ending. But I enjoyed the show for what it was. They're both great, and it doesn't feel forced with stupid reality TV nonsense. There is an element of that, but not as much as like Total Divas, for example. And they're just two great people that have great chemistry outside of the ring specifically. And it was a lot of fun to watch. So it's still up on Hulu, I think. Hulu/Disney Plus, whatever, if you want to watch it. It's only like 6 episodes. It's not a very long show. Fernando said, is Carmelo the same boat as Austin Theory? Absolutely not. Carmelo has not been there nearly as long on the main roster, and it looks like they're pushing him again. Theory's been cooked for at least 2 years. Melo, they've underutilized, but they can heat him back up again with the right creative, and it looks like they're headed in that direction, so no. Carmelo, Theory, not the same boat. Grunt agrees. Edge and Cena over Orton versus Cena for sure. Nathaniel said, I thought Edge would beat Cena in 06 TLC match, but would have kept the rated R spinner belt. I mean, Edge already beat Cena at SummerSlam, so it only made sense for Cena to get his win back at Unforgiven, even if it was in Canada. But the rated R spinner belt was cool while it lasted, though. Daniel says, who would you say is Orton's greatest rival in terms of matches? Good question. It's got to be Christian. I know people might disagree and say, like, Cena. Yeah, but yeah, quantity isn't always better than quality. Like, just because they had a lot of matches doesn't mean all those matches were great. Cena and Orton had a lot of great matches. Orton and Christian had great matches every fucking time. I still say Christian. Still one of my favorite feuds of all time. Other great Orton rivals? I don't know. Him and Drew had some good matches. Him and AJ had good matches in recent years. Him and Edge had some good matches in 2020. Those are all recent rivalries, though. Triple H, I always thought their chemistry was boring. Him and Batista, their matches were fine. Him and Jeff Hardy had some great matches. I would still say Christian. I feel like him and Christian had the best chemistry of any rival in Orton's career. Him and Punk also had good matches, but I still go Christian. Grunt said, okay, Deserve might have been the wrong choice of words. What I meant to say was that he has the allure of just returning and hasn't been losing on TV recently like the others. I agree with that, but they would have to agree why Wardlow's even in the Don Callis family. I agree, like having him face Page for the belt would be great. You got to give the guy a few wins first. And yeah, he just returned, but any momentum that he had from returning it all in, and even that return was underwhelming at the event itself, they did nothing with it last Wednesday. He was just there as a background guy. So if they really were going to build him up, and they still might, that wasn't a very encouraging start. So I still would go with other Don Callis family members as Page's next opponent over a fucking Wardlow. Until they build up Wardlow, which I don't get the sense that they will. And I'll be taking off in a little bit. I have not answered any of the scheduled questions yet. I will do that momentarily. We'll go through those questions quickly and then come back to the chat. I will finish out the chat in the moment. I did not want this to be a long stream today, but so much activity in the chat. I appreciate you guys. If you haven't already liked this video, by the way, I'd appreciate it. Subscribe if you haven't already. I mean, that's always implied, of course. But yeah, we'll go through these quickly before I got to head on out in the next, 15, 20 minutes. But Maria said Takeshita should be the one to out of the Don Callis family. To get Hangman, he just won the G1. I agree, but New Japan may not want him to lose to Adam Page if he's challenging for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship at Wrestle Kingdom. I just thought of that. I disagree. I feel like that shouldn't fucking matter. I think Takeshita is the perfect opponent. I agree with you. But I'm also thinking New Japan may not like that because this guy's the number one contender to the world title in their promotion. If he's losing in AEW TV, probably not ideal. So I would still do Takeshita and Hangman, though. Grunt said, I feel like Alexander's wins are potentially leading to a match with Omega, Canadian versus Canadian, if Page and Omega is in the plan. I could see that. Omega would still wipe the floor with him in terms of, Alexander doesn't stand a chance. But the match would be fun. I think that match would be great. I feel like he wants that match with Omega because they're both Canadian. I feel like that match would make a lot of sense. We almost got that match in TNA a few years ago when Omega was the TNA World Champion. He ended up losing it to Christian, who then lost it to Alexander. But if they did not transfer the title from Omega to Christian, it would have been Alexander beating Omega. So I would love to see that match, even if it's just on TV. But I still agree. I feel like it should be Omega and Page at All Out. What is your favorite Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels match? I don't know if I have one. It might be Survivor Series 92. I don't really love their WrestleMania match. I know that's probably sacrilegious to say. I just feel like there's far better Iron Man matches than the Bret-Shawn one. And then the Montreal Screwjob match isn't really, it's all about the fucking angle at the end, obviously. I don't really have a favorite Bret and Shawn match. It might be Survivor Series 92. The other matches they're kind of overshadowed by other stuff. And the 96 match at WrestleMania just isn't overly interesting to me. But it's still a very good match. Richie said, Punk and Rollins interact with each other and gave feedback towards one another, or gave feedback towards another's ideas during WWE Unreal when they were discussing the chamber match. I agree. I'm sure whatever beef they have has been squashed. Oh, okay, there you go. I haven't finished the show yet. I've only still watched the first episode, so that makes sense. If they really hated each other, I probably would imagine they would not be doing that. How long do I think Sammy is U.S. champion? Probably a few months. If fucking Solo Sikoa can be champion for 2 months, I would put the belt on Sammy for at least 2 or 3. At the least. Richie said they're probably not besties talking about Punk and Rollins, but they know how to blur the lines between what's real and what isn't and are making money with their feud. I agree. Nathaniel said, I felt bad for AJ Styles yesterday. I wished he would have won. Yeah, me too. I didn't like the ending. Dom could lose that belt tomorrow and it'd be totally fine. Did not agree with the outcome, and the execution of the outcome was fucking stupid. But the match was very good, though. Hopefully they know what they're doing with AJ next. Abu Sika, what's going on, brother? Thanks for joining the here in the chat. Great to see you. We said, do you think Solo will eventually become a comedy act? Eventually? I think he already is. I think Solo is very funny, but he just does not work as a threat. I think they need to figure out what the fuck they want the MFTs to be, because they are not a threat at all. I like the guys in the group, but they're not threat at all. They're not threats at all. So, you're asking if he's eventually going to become a comedy act? I feel like we're already at that stage. The man lost almost every fucking match that he had as United States champion. And when he did win, it was with 1 million members of the MFTs interfering. He also said, thank God it feels like they're moving Jimmy Uso out of the MFT Vortex. Yeah, thank God. Hopefully Jacob Fatu is next. Daniel loves HBK and Hogan for like favorite bad match. That is a fun match. If you constitute that as a so bad it's good, I would put that at the top of my list as well. Have I seen the trailer for Marvel Zombies? No, it actually was uploaded like 20 minutes before it went live, so I have not watched it yet, but I will watch it when we're done here in a little bit. I'm looking forward to it, though. I like the Zombies episode of What If all those years ago, so the fact they're finally making that zombie show, I think there's only 4 episodes, and it comes out in a few weeks. I'm looking forward to it. So, no, I have not watched the trailer, but I will be watching the show. Cena buried the Nexus. How could I forget about that? How could I forget about that? Daniel said, you could do a top 5 burial list with Cena and Hunter alone. Seriously, it would take me fucking an hour to go through them all. They definitely each have a minimum of 5 each. Oh, absolutely. I mean, Cena had the Nexus. We're not talking about behind-the-scenes stuff like Alex Riley and JTG and stuff, but on the show, you could go with, even Umaga. That wasn't really a Cena burial. That was more so the booking. But, like, with Cena in the ring, you can go with Wyatt, Nexus, Theory, Triple H, you could use Booker T, Punk from 2011. Sheamus he ended up putting over, trying to think of who else. Who else did Triple H really bury? Maybe Test. That storyline kind of got wiped under the rug and never really revisited. There's a lot, though. There's a lot for both guys. Abu Sika says... He says, guys, Cena doesn't bury talent. He is the talent. Remember he said that in a promo? That was crazy. That was during the terrible heel run that he had. He also said, I used to hate when Cena would take a pin and immediately roll out of the ring, rock and KO. Like, can you at least sell the loss, please? I agree. That shit was so fucking annoying. So fucking annoying. Basico. I apologize for the mispronunciation if I did mispronounce your name, but... Said, hi, GSM, hi, chat. Pasico, thanks for joining. Great to see you here in the chat. Let's see. Daniel said, I doubt we will ever hear him speak on it truthfully, but I wonder how Theory really feels about that Cena promo. Like you said, Alex Riley still has not said fucking shit about Cena from 15 years ago. I feel like they're too afraid to speak out, especially now that the guy's as beloved as he is. But yeah, I agree. Abu Sika, good question here. Bigger burial, Cena versus Theory or Adam Cole versus Cross? Definitely Cena in Theory. Theory was fucked after that promo. Cole completely buried Cross on the mic in that promo, and the peak of Cross's career really was in NXT, but I don't think that was like the downfall of his like aura, because he came back, he got fired soon after. He got fired within months of that promo. Not because of that promo, but because of Vince. But then he was brought back. And, he got over on his own earlier this year organically with the audience. Theory never really recovered. Maybe he will, but the Theory burial was way worse. The Cole promo, you can kind of constitute, okay, that's his character talking. The Cena promo felt fucking personal, and I maintain that. I don't know what it is. I don't know what issue he had with Theory. That promo, to me, felt personal. The Cole one was just the character talking, and I think they're cool with each other in real life. Cross has said that. Nathaniel said, did you feel bad Christian did not win at Revolution? You talking about this year? No. He didn't, when he cashed in his contract, I thought that was stupid. I would have loved to have seen Christian as world champion at least once in AEW. I know it wasn't going to happen. The way they did it was stupid. I didn't really feel bad. It wasn't really overly surprising. I don't think Jon Moxley should have lost the championship in a fucking cash-in, but it wasn't that big of a deal. The execution of it, though, was kind of bad. I heard Ace Austin, Griff, Peter, Thomas, and Nick are going to join the Don Callis family. They probably already have. They need another 20 members. They don't have enough as it is. Fernando said, if the Profits do break up and Montez becomes the WWE champ, can Dawkins go on a good mid-card title reign, a Christian type of run? There is zero chance of that happening. I'm not saying I don't want it to happen. I'm not saying I don't think he's capable of that. What I'm saying is I don't think they see Dawkins in that light. I like Dawkins. I think he's improved a lot in the last couple of years. Montez Ford is the real star. I think they would just give the fuck up on Dawkins. I don't even think there's any guarantee they would push Montez on his own. But Dawkins, his goose is cooked. On his own, he's fucked. I would love to be wrong. I think he can be successful on his own. I think he's good enough to be successful on his own. But they already have so many people they're not doing enough or anything with at all. I don't think Dawkins will be a priority whatsoever. So, would love to see it. Don't see it happening. Abu Sika said, Orton and Ziggler had good matches. Dolph, not Love. I mean, Love, Ziggler, and Orton also had great matches, to be fair. Those matches were stuff of legend. But you are right, though. Dolph and Orton also had good matches, including on pay-per-view. I agree. I mean, he's an underrated rival of Orton because they didn't really have a great feud. But they had a lot of matches in like late 2012, some of which Orton lost to Ziggler, which was cool. But they always worked well together anytime they were matched up. So I would agree with that one. Grunt said, you're just a guy from Georgia. Oh, that's what he said about Styles. Okay. He said, you're just a guy from Georgia. After Styles beat him twice one-on-one, won the WWE title, and defended it against him in Ambrose, hated how he would always just downplay anytime he got beat. Exactly. It's fucking stupid. Oh, you're just a guy from Georgia. I remember that line. It's like, bro, this guy beat you clean at SummerSlam, and then you poo-pooed off for like 6 weeks. He went home and cried about it and then came back and still lost to Styles like 3 times. He lost to Styles. He got pinned by Styles, I want to say 3 fucking times, before Cena finally beat him at the Royal Rumble. It's like, bro, fucking sell the loss. That shit was crazy. I agree, though. That was really stupid. Nathaniel said, I got a new Celtics hat yesterday. Very cool. I'm not sure how Christian will win AEW World Championship. He's not going to. I'm not even really sure why they gave him the contract, to be honest, if they never really had any intention of having him cash in successfully. That was kind of a waste of time. Maybe just because he was a heel. I don't know. But he's not winning the AEW World Championship at this point. He probably shouldn't because he's like 50. But as a mark for Christian, that would have been cool for me personally. Basico said, does AEW have examples of burials that come to mind? Great question. Do they have any burials that come to mind? I don't know. I'm trying to think. What burials has AEW had? They definitely, I mean, in terms of promos, I'm sure they have. I'm sure they fucking have. I don't know. I feel like Cody said some shit about like Malachi on the show that made no sense, or Andrade. Like Cody's promos were ass. Oh, you know what? Actually, I take that back. And not because he beat these people, but just by working with them. You know who was further buried? I don't know if this is a good example, actually. This might be the best AEW example I can think of. You know who was buried further after working with this individual? And how many people were buried further after working with this individual? Chris fucking Jericho. I mean, the Chris Jericho vortex is a very real thing. Anyone that worked with that man was worse off. I mean, MJF had to kind of claw his way back out of that storyline. And I liked their feud. And honestly, he was like not even the most egregious example. Ricky Starks, worse off after the Jericho feud. Beat him twice, worse off after the feud. That was a booking issue. But still, worse off after feuding with Jericho. Action Andretti beat Jericho clean, went nowhere. Probably would not amount to much anyway, but still. There was that. Adam Cole didn't do much after feuding with Jericho. Who else? Orange Cassidy, cooled off Orange Cassidy for a while in 2020 when that feud happened. And not like 2019, early 2020 Jericho. That Jericho is great. That Jericho is great. I'm talking like mid 2020 Jericho through late 20 or early 2025 Jericho. Claudio beat him for the title only to lose it back to him for some reason. Daniel Garcia, buried by Jericho for sure. Santana Ortiz got put in a big spot when they first came in, worse off after being with Jericho. So Jericho might be my answer for that. How about Tony versus Tekla versus Jamie at All Out? That would be cool. Yeah, I don't know if they're headed in that direction. Tekla attacked Tony on Collision last week, but Tekla and Jamie are also feuding right now. I like that match, but the issue is I want Jamie and Tony one-on-one, and I want the title on Jamie. So I don't know if you give away Jamie versus Tony before then. I know we've seen the match a bunch, so it's not really like we haven't seen it before. But I like that, though, as a triple threat. Who should Monet face it All Out? I have no idea. She's facing Alex Windsor tomorrow, so hopefully I imagine she wins. I don't know. I don't even know if she'll wrestle it All Out. I think she would. They really want to stack that show. I don't know who it would be, though, because she's facing Windsor tomorrow. It would be nice if she had faced her at All Out, but they're doing it tomorrow, so I don't really know. I got to look at the roster. Nathaniel said, at least Christian will be happy with Tag Team Championship gold with his best friend. Well, he was also a Trios champion. He was TNT champion multiple times. I mean, it's not like Christian has not won gold in AEW. He's had a lot of success in that company. Daniel said, didn't Cena also say if you lose to me in the Rumble, you're not on my level? He might have. He also might have said that, which would have been very stupid because Styles did lose that match. Johnny said Wardlow burial-ish. Yeah, Wardlow was buried. That was more so by the booking than any one individual, but he was absolutely buried. Is Christian outshining Adam Cope in AEW? Yeah, I mean, Christian's had a way better... I mean, I think Cope's run in AEW has been fine, but Christian has had a much better run overall. He's been there a lot longer, too, but yeah, Christian's always had the better run. I mean, honestly, you could say the same thing about their WWE runs, too, where Edge was a much bigger star, but Christian was consistently having better matches and whatnot, and that Christian is just better than Edge in general. Anthony Ogogo was buried by Cody Rhodes. I agree with that. That I agree with. That's a good example. I knew there was a Cody example that I was not remembering, but yeah, that feud was so forgettable, I forgot about it. Definitely Anthony Ogogo. Is Edge and Christian undefeated in TLC matches, Maria said? I think so, because they won all of them in WWE, like during the TLC 1, 2, 3, I think. I think they won them all. So they might be. I don't know. I'd have to go back and check. I'm pretty sure they are. And as a tag team, I think they might be. Grunt said, she did mention facing other champions in that promo, so maybe Athena, ? Mercedes? I would not do that unless Athena's winning. Having Athena face Tony and lose, and then Mercedes the following month and lose that too, is pretty lame. I would only do Mercedes and Athena again. Their first match was great. I would only do that again at All Out in case Athena wins. If not, then don't do it. At least not right now. Camille still in the AEW roster? Yeah, shockingly, yes. She's been gone for almost a fucking year, but she's still under contract to that company, to my knowledge. Nathaniel said, I'm just happy Cope is having fun in AEW, and I'm excited for the fun run he'll have with Christian. I agree. I'm glad that they are enjoying themselves, and I think that was a big reason as to why Cope went to AEW in the first place, was to team with Christian. Like, that's a shoot. I was hearing that from people even long before he left WWE, and I'm thinking that makes a lot of sense, because even if he stayed in WWE, what would he have done that would have been on the level of what he's doing right now? Probably not a whole lot. I think in retrospect, and I said this at the time, but I feel like in retrospect, he made the right call in going to AEW. Grunt said, no, Benoit and Jericho won the SmackDown one in 2001. So there you go. They're not undefeated in TLC matches after all. Grunt agrees that Athena would have to win. Daniel said, Anthony Ogogo randomly DM'd me talking about what my fitness goals are, LOL. That is very fucking random. That is cool, though. Very random. I'm surprised he gets service, actually. That's funny that he DM'd you, Daniel. I'm surprised he gets service from that fucking hole that Cody Rhodes dug him into when he buried him 6 feet under back in 2021. Johnny said Athena might not lose the Ring of Honor women's title. I mean, she does call herself the Forever Champion. I wish she would have dropped it a year or two ago, but yeah, she may never be dropping that belt. She is approaching 1,000 days, which is cool. How much of that really means anything when she barely defends the championship, and Ring of Honor doesn't have a whole lot of exposure that means anything, but it's still a cool stat nonetheless. Nathaniel said, yeah, I was tired of Edge coming and going in WWE. He's there, and then there's an injury angle in WWE. Kind of like what they did with Roman at this point. That was kind of like their formula with Edge. At least in AEW. I mean, they do that in AEW, but he was actually hurt for a time, and usually when he's there, which I like. All right, so I got to get going in a couple minutes, so I'm going to run through these scheduled questions real quick. I apologize to anyone watching on VOD after the fact about waiting this long to answer all the questions. We got going a little bit later today. I am in a bit of a rush, so we will go through these questions that were sent in ahead of time and then head on out of here after looking at the chat one more time. Jordan B. from YouTube said, do you think Brock Lesnar will retire at SummerSlam next year? Sounds random, but he's asking that because they're in Minnesota next year. And that's where Brock either grew up or went to school. It's obviously where he's more, what he's most synonymous with is Minnesota. He doesn't live there now. I think he lives in Canada. Do I think he'll retire at SummerSlam next year? No, I don't. I think he'll be in a big match of the show next year. I don't think that's where he retires, though. His second question, did WWE call Apollo Crews back to the main roster too soon in 2023? It sucked that he did not get at least to win the NXT North American Championship in his second NXT run. And bro, he didn't get to win anything. During either run in NXT, he did not win anything. He did not win the NXT Championship despite contending for it a few times. He did not win the North American title. He won nothing. So it would have been nice when he was there the second time if they gave him the North American Championship. It just wasn't in their plans. At least he's won a couple of mid-card titles on the main roster. But yeah, it is kind of crazy for all the time that Cruz spent in NXT. They called him up too soon in 2016. But even when he was there for the year between 2022 and 2023, it would have been nice had he won gold at some point, and he just never did. Fresh Fly from YouTube asked, will we see the return of the final boss at Wrestlepalooza on ESPN? Absolutely not. I mean, could they stack the show and bring him in? Maybe, but for what reason? To set up something with Cena for the last match? I don't see that happening. Rock's in the middle of a media tour right now, making the rounds for his new movie, The Smashing Machine or whatever it is. I saw people complaining about him looking smaller on social media. First of all, who gives a fuck? And second of all, he did that for the role of the movie. He might even be doing that for his next role in whatever movie he does next. I don't think it's him looking sickly or like, yeah, he does look smaller. But again, the people said the same thing about Batista. Who cares? Like, he probably should not be that freakishly large to begin with. But if he wants to explore other roles where he shouldn't be that big, then that makes sense. But no, I don't really see what the point of having The Rock. I mean, fuck The Rock. And we've talked about this before. Go back and check out my rant from April about this. I'm going to pivot with Dwayne showing up. Listen, pal, fuck you. If you're not going to show up and actually contribute to the product in a positive way, then fuck off. So that's a hard no on that one. Second question. Everyone wants to see an AJ Lee return, and I'm also one of those people, he says. Given what we saw at Clash, do you think we see a return at WrestlePalooza? I'm going to go yes. I think it would make a lot of sense. Do they have backup plans with Rhea and Bayley? Yes. I think there's a chance that they don't have her commitment yet, and they're going to go in a different direction. It's just that, as other people have said, I'm kind of of this mindset too. If it hasn't happened yet, why now? And we've been burned before, so it's kind of hard to get your hopes up. But we'll find out soon. I'm going to be an optimist and say yes. But that's, I think, just trying to will it into existence and not because I'm confident. But we'll go yes. They also asked, how would I book an AJ Lee 1 year return? The answer is I wouldn't. If she were to come back, I think you do the mixed tag. And honestly, that's really all you need. Could you then, I would have Punk and AJ win, first of all. Second of all, could you have AJ beat Becky and then set up AJ and Becky for the Women's IC Championship? Sure, but I feel like if AJ, it took her this long to come back, she's not coming back for a full-on run. Would love to see it. I don't think it's going to happen. A one-on-one Becky and AJ match would be very cool. At like Crown Jewel or at Survivor Series or whatever. I just think we see her once, a la Brie Bella. When she came back in 2018, I mean, she came back for a little bit longer for Evolution, but she largely returned in 2018 to team with Bryan against Miz and Maurice, and that was the only reason why she was back. I think this is similar to that. And I don't think we see her back in the ring after that, aside from maybe like a Rumble or something like that. But 1 year return, not happening. But for a couple of matches, like a match, the mixed tag, and maybe a match with Becky, I'd be down for that personally. His next question, can you rank these John Cena matches from worst to best? Number 1, Cena versus Kevin Owens, their first match, Elimination Chamber 2015. Cena and Daniel Bryan at SummerSlam 2013. Cena and AJ Styles at Royal Rumble 2017. Cena and Cody Rhodes from SummerSlam 2025. Cena versus Rollins from SummerSlam 2015. Cena versus Logan Paul, Clash in Paris, 2025. And then finally, Cena and Punk, Money in the Bank 2011. Great question. So to rank these matches from worst to best, this is what I've got. At 7, I got Cena and Logan Paul from Clash in Paris this past weekend. 6, Cena and Rollins from SummerSlam 2015. For the sole reason that I love that match. I actually enjoy that match more than Cena and Cody from SummerSlam this year. But the finish of the 2015 match, I didn't mind at the time, but a lot of people have an issue with, like, I get it. I mean, it wasn't really executed all that well. Jon Stewart getting involved, kind of lame. I get that. But Rollins winning was awesome. For the finish alone, I'll put that at 6. I'll put Cena and Cody at 5 from SummerSlam this year, not the Mania match. 4, I'll do Cena and Owens from Elimination Chamber 2015. I could see people putting Cena and Rhodes higher. I really enjoy that Cena Rhodes match, Cena and Owens match more. Less like overbooking with the finishers and shit. Number 3, Cena and Bryan, SummerSlam 2013. Number 2, Cena and AJ, Royal Rumble 2017. And number 1, you can't change my mind on this, Cena and Punk, Money in the Bank 2011. No L from Facebook. Do you see AJ Lee finally returning or finally making her return after 10 years? Going back to what I said earlier, yes, I think at this point it's got to happen. It just fucking has to happen. I mean, could it not happen? And they're setting us up for disappointment with someone like a Rhea or a Bayley, and that's why they kind of teased this last night with Punk interacting with these different people to kind of tell you, hey, it's not happening, so don't get excited for something that won't happen. Yes, that is very possible. But I'll try to be an optimist here and will it into existence and say yes. No said, their second question. In your opinion, who has had the worst 2025 in wrestling, be it in AEW, TNA, WWE, in the first half of the year? For the wrestlers, of course. This was a hard question to kind of think about. Who's had the worst, 2025 so far? I mean, what does that mean? We talking fucking Otis or something? I'm thinking notable talent. I don't mean to bash on the guy after we shit on him earlier, but Austin Theory had a fucking awful year. He did challenge Obafemi for the NXT title in that triple threat at Vengeance Day in February. That's it. He's barely wrestled on WWE TV. He got hurt and went out with a whimper. Waller broke up with him in a random backstage segment while Theory was not there. And he's done nothing all year. For a guy that was tag team champion last year and U.S. champion the year before that, he's had a terrible 2025. So we'll go Theory on that one. Nakamura's had a terrible year. He was U.S. champion for the first few months. Barely on the show. Booked terribly. I think he's won one match all year, and that was in the first SmackDown of the year against Andrade. Beyond that, he has done jack shit all year on SmackDown. We haven't even fucking seen him since June. So Nakamura is the second one. And then the third one from AEW. The only name or names that came to mind off the top of my head looking through the roster, Private Party. Those guys were booked like shit as tag team champions. And their only appearances this year, I think they lost. And then they went on to lose the tag titles to the Hurt Syndicate. And that's it. We have not seen them since. So they've had a terrible fucking year. Hopefully they're on their way out because what a waste of those guys. At millennial_noob on Twitter, after seeing the stage for Clash in Paris, will we see more custom stages for PLEs moving forward as we're going to the ESPN era of WWE PLEs? Great question. I don't think so. I feel like that was just a one-off for Paris and that awesome set. Love the set, and they used it for Raw the next night, which was great. I don't think we get custom sets moving forward. It would be cool if they got one for Wrestlepalooza. Stupid name, like I said earlier. But, it'd be nice if they use some of that ESPN money to have custom sets. They don't care about the sets. They care about packing in as many people as possible. So I'm going to say no on that, but I wish that was the case. His second question, with Io Sky versus Stephanie Vaquer announced for Wrestlepalooza, will it be the perfect time and place for Asuka to turn on Io? I believe that the Raw Women's Division definitely needs a top heel in the main event scene. Yes, but not by costing her the title like we said earlier. That would be lame. Have Io and Stephanie end clean. Io beats Stephanie, becomes champion. Now, they may not want to spoil her title win by having Asuka turn on her right afterward, but I feel like it would make more sense, maybe on Raw the next night, but I feel like it would be cool that would be Io's next feud with Asuka, or a team with Rhea against Asuka and Kairi, whatever. That would make sense. So, yeah, you could do it at Wrestlepalooza. Have Io beat Stephanie clean, and then Asuka comes out to congratulate her and turns on her Evolution style. And then Rhea makes the save, setting up a big tag team match for Crown Jewel. You don't have a lot of time between Wrestlepalooza and Crown Jewel to set up that tag team match, which we already know are headed in that direction anyway. But I would maybe do the big angle in front of the big crowd in Indianapolis while you can. At Uwagu91, last three questions here from Twitter. His first one was, do I see Stephanie Vaquer winning the Women's World Championship this month? I don't. I think it's going to be Io Sky. Stephanie winning would be cool. Great moment. I would not rush into it. I would be happy if she won, but I think Io Sky, there's a better story to tell there, especially if whoever wins this match is inevitably losing to Rhea. I'd rather that be Io than Stephanie. I'd rather have Stephanie beat Rhea than lose to Io, or lose to Rhea for the title. Did you know that the Cruiserweight Classic will turn 10 next year? He said. Yes, I'm well aware. 10 years since that awesome tournament, an amazing tournament, and with a lot of great matches. Gave us a lot of great talent, too, in the years that followed, like DIY, where they were already under contract, but they really broke out in that tournament. Cedric Alexander had a very long run in WWE after being signed in that tournament. Drew Gulak was there for a long time. They did not sign Zack Sabre Jr. or Kota Ibushi, who were a part of that tournament, but Mascara Dorado at that point, that was Grand Metalik. He was in that tournament, among many other people that they used in the years that followed. Mustafa Ali was in that tournament. Tony Nese. A lot of people. Giovanni Vinci was in that tournament. Yeah, 10 years since that tournament. A lot of amazing matches. Some of the best WWE matches, maybe not ever, but in the last 10 years came from that tournament that aired on the network in 2016. And the last question, Labor Day marked 7 years of the inaugural All In event. Said event changed everything. Do you agree? It did. All In really did change wrestling with the inception of AEW. And Tony Khan has said before, the first Jericho Omega match really was his first seed planted, that there could be a new promotion in wrestling involving guys like them. All In came after that, but All In really set in motion that there could be a big show outside of WWE with other promotions working together. And little do we know, or little did we know at the time, WWE would then start working with other promotions as well in 2025, like AAA and Noah and TNA and stuff like that. And All In really was like the first big, like that felt like the first AEW pay-per-view in terms of what that company could be. And swallowing up Ring of Honor, they ended up buying Ring of Honor. New Japan, they don't own New Japan, but they work with New Japan, who was a part of that pay-per-view. And a lot of other promotions as well they've worked with because of All In. So, yeah, that did turn 7 this past week. Some stuff on that show did not exactly age well, such as the... was it the Joey Ryan stuff or fucking Joey Janela, whatever it was? But overall, still a very good show. And that's going to do it, guys. Let me just run through the chat one more time before we head on out of here. Let's see. Yeah, I was getting tired of... Oh, I already read that one. Fernando said, should Brandy be the next wife to team up with her husband? LOL. Fuck no. Brandy seems like a lovely person. Congrats on her on becoming a mother again. 2-time mother. Congrats on the birth of their child. But absolutely not. Brandy was always awful in the ring. God bless her for trying, but whether it was Ring of Honor, TNA, AEW, she sucked in the ring. So let's keep her to a managerial role at best. Johnny says Brock Lesnar might retire in a courtroom match. He's probably not getting sued, but that was funny. WWE should sign Maya Lesnar to a developmental contract. They probably will want to. It's probably not all that out of the realm of reality. Daniel said pivot. He also said the Rock rant was epic. Still one of my probably favorite rants of mine of the year. It's back in April if you want to check it out. I have it as a clip here on the channel from around that period. Nathaniel said, imagine if it's Rhea and CM Punk versus Seth and Becky. It could be. Like I said earlier, it could be. Or Nikki and Punk would just be fucking dumb because that would, like, why? Because Nikki's working with Becky right now? That would be stupid. Rhea or even Bayley would make sense. More sense than Nikki. But it's definitely possible. Daniel said, you don't think Brandy should run back open mic night? She should run back open mic night. Do not wrestle, but I want to see open mic night, bitch. In the fucking comments that she made about Jade, I want part 2 on that. Beyond that, don't get her back in the ring. For a match, for a promo, for that, yes. In the ring, no. And Nathaniel said Roman might not return until December. I doubt that. I feel like he'll probably be at Crown Jewel. You might be right. He might be gone for a few months. I feel like he'll probably be back on the sooner side for maybe Survivor Series. Probably, I was thinking even Crown Jewel. To run it back with Bronson Reed on that show in Australia, I'd be surprised if we did not get Roman until December, but we'll see. Daniel saying CM Punk screaming, come on, Nikki, in a tag match would be hilarious. That is true. That would be great. Nathaniel said Bayley and Punk are friends. I wouldn't mind it. That's what I'm saying. There's that would make more sense than Nikki and Punk. That would just be weird. Grunt says with the finger crossing emojis, no, it's Logan Paul who's going to retire in a courtroom match. Maybe Logan and Brock both. Maybe them both. But anyway, guys, this has been a blast. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I got to get going here in a second, but shout out to the channel members one more time. Alexis, Miss Mod Matthews, Dillon DiGiacomo, Mrs. Renee, DJ Swerve1, at Swerve1 on IG, Daniel Malcolm, at I'm Quarter on X, RJ Marceau, at RJ_Marceau on Twitter, John Ritland, Real Honesty with John Ritland, Richie Red Planet Wrestling right here on YouTube, and Average Grunt at gruntwrestling.bluesky.social. Follow him on over there. If you want to send in a question to the show, you can do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Be sure to drop a comment on the post I usually put up on my Facebook page, facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. I put that post up on Mondays. Drop a comment there, if not in the wall itself. Last but not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video after we're done being live here in a moment, and I'll include your question in next week's edition. We'll be live again before next Tuesday, though, for WrestleRant Radio coming up on Thursday. Myself and Mr. Marceau. So stay tuned for that. Turn on notifications, like this video, subscribe, and you'll find out if you are subscribed and have notifications on, you'll be notified every time we go live here on the channel, including on Thursday for the next installment of WrestleRant Radio. So with all that being said, guys, thank you so much again for tuning in live. Thank you to everyone that joined us live during the show here today that popped in, including Grunt, Nathaniel, Johnny, Alexis, Maria, Basaiku, Abusika, Richie, and everyone else. Appreciate all you fine folks, and including anyone else that I may have missed as well. Johnny, I think I may have mentioned you. Thank you so much for coming on in, guys. This was a blast. Grunt said, W stream per usual. Take care, brother. You take care as well, brother, and all of you as well. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. We'll catch you right back here on the channel on Thursday for WrestleRant Radio, and here tomorrow on the channel just in general. Not live, but an all-new episode of #GSM for GM. Till next time, folks, I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.